Coming up on this episode of The Brain Drain Show.
Milton Keynes, born and bred. Kids now aren't going to know what Rizzler is. You'd be better off doing a vape font on a board graphic, right? I wanted to go like 10 feet in the air and do melon grabs on my skateboard, but there wasn't a single ramp in Milton Keynes. And if I did good at school, I would get to go to Redlands on the weekend, so that was quite rare. And then you get to Redlands, you'd be like, oh my God, everything is enormous. And even at like the height of like being a pro snowboarder, I would only use 4 boards a year. Like they last ages. Tom Knox had just got on Vans Snowboarding as well. I became team manager at Vans and I put Sparrow on. People think just because you're a sponsored rider, you're just in, which can look like that from the outside, but it's certainly not the case. I was about to go to the US with my board sponsor. They invited me over to be part on some trips. 2 weeks before I snapped my leg, and that put me out for a year and a half, 2 surgeries. First one to put a metal bar through the inside of my bone. They threaded the rod in my leg. The Vans were like, we're putting an end of season trip onto the US. So I went back again the next season to just keep going because it was just so much fun. I went through the trees and my board went under, but when it went under I hit a tree root and I bent over the tree. Same leg, crawled out of the woods. I was like, please God, no, not this again. Obviously Johnny Depp was on those scenes and you're not allowed to talk to him. You do not talk to any actors, you do not approach them. You're like, all right, I'm not some crazy fan. The skate business unit of Adidas, they all come from skateboarding. That's why it's so good, because they're the right people. We're all pretty good at rails. What can we do to like stand out? What can we do to like get ourselves out there in the mags? Take all the snow out the indoor, load it into a van, take it to a rail. I know the biggest one I did was a double kink, which was 8, about a 3 meter flat, then another 8. Thanks for having me, boys. Thank you.
Good evening, welcome to another great episode of The Brain Drain Show with me, Forde Brookfield. Joined to my left is my one and only friend, my soulmate. Not my soulmate, it's Toby Batchelor. Toby, tell the listeners your name.
It's Toby.
And joined to our left, there's so many words to describe him, I just don't know where to start, so we're just going to jump straight in.
Can you take your hand off my shoulder first?
Okay.
It's Chris Chatt.
It's Chris Chatt in the studio. Round of applause, please.
Thanks.
Cheers, mate. There we go. Cheers,
Virtual.
mate.
How's it going?
It's good.
Yeah.
Going good.
Good.
How was the drive?
Foggy and slow.
Nice.
It was good.
That route, so that's not Snakes Pass, is it? That's the one you go to Sheffield. But
Snakes Pass, yeah.
That route, once I was going to Buxton when there was heavy snow and it got gnarly. Sorry, I just swore in the first. You're going to have to edit that. So gnarly.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some of them are like, there's drops, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like when you go through Glossop and stuff,
Yeah.
it's pretty hairy stuff when there's no snow.
Yeah.
And I remember going, I was like, and the roads were clear. There was no one there. No one had like snow ploughed it or anything. It's pretty hairy journey.
But today it's just pure fog. I couldn't see anything, and the person in front of me was going at like 40 the whole way. So I'm like going at 40, and my car's got this thing on the dashboard which says distracted driver detected, and it like bing off, and you're like,
Oh,
whoa,
amazing.
how do you know what I'm thinking, or how do you know I'm
Was it
distracted?
got cameras inside?
It
What
must
she knew,
do.
just
Weird, yeah.
Maybe it was
So-
talking about you, not the car in front.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
But-
what is that?
Yeah,
What
no.
It
It
means
is
the one
talking
in
about
the,
me, not the car in
it's
front.
to wake
Oh.
you up.
Yeah. So like,
Technology.
yeah.
But that's
crazy.
what rumble strips are for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Not many of them on that road though.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a rumble strip.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
It's pretty hairy journey, that. Should we go in with the basic questions first and get
Straight.
things going?
Straight in with the basics.
Where did you grow up, Chris Chatt? Where are you
Milton
from?
Keynes.
Oh, lovely
born
Milton
and
Keynes.
bred.
Of all places.
Yeah, which is an amazing place to grow up as a kid, really, because it's super safe, it's green, you know, there's these red ways everywhere to get around, so you don't need to go on the
Lots of
roads,
roundabouts.
and loads of roundabouts, obviously, which works. There's never any traffic because of the roundabouts. Nice schools and that, all just very, like, classic, like, you know, nice suburban place to grow up, basically.
When did they start changing it into that? It just looks like someone's duplicated everything.
Well, it
every
was
time,
built like that.
every time I go
Is it-
there, it's just
Yeah,
like
it was
that's how
built-
it's designed. It's purpose-built city.
It was
Yeah.
built
Yeah.
after the Second World War, wasn't it? As a
Yeah, it's
way
an
to,
overspill from London. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So it was built like that to make it
Yeah.
easy to get around.
Yeah, and based on like US cities, which are all on the grid system, it's
Yeah.
exactly that.
I get lost there every time.
But you can't. You just turn right 3 times and you're back where you were.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
No, it's like, you know, if you're like trying to find a spot, like a ledge or something, 'cause
Everything looks the
everything's the same. You just
Yeah.
like,
We're by the Marble Ledge.
which
Cool.
one?
It was Milton Keynes was unreal back in the early 90s for skating because
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
kind of largely untouched.
Yeah.
The floor was good then. A lot of it's fucked now, isn't
It's
it?
like there's been an earthquake now.
Yeah.
Like the train station was the main bit where we
Yeah,
all
yeah.
skated. and went back last year to see family, got off the train and walked through, and I was like, oh my God, it's literally
It's
like there's
proper
been an
haggard.
earthquake. Yeah.
It was
Such a
unreal though,
shame.
going back there like early 90s and just those ledges. It was like, holy shit.
Everywhere, and
It
they were always
grinds
perfect.
perfectly.
Yeah.
It's
And the
one of
bus-
your great photos is on those ledges, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
You do the ollie gap over to lip slide
Yeah.
on your Guilty by Association with Kundal.
That's right.
I think I've got that magazine.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good picture as well. You're kind of like
Style
in the
to
right hand corner, aren't you?
Yeah.
I need to see this.
It's a good picture. Perfect Toby Steez on it. Still got
Is it on the internet? Can I find it?
Maybe if you
I've got a
search,
copy of it at home somewhere. I dig it out.
I'm going to
when
put
I
it
get
on here,
time.
but maybe if you search Guilty by Association, Toby Batchelor,
And Kundal's
Ben
doing a front
Kundal.
nose slide down a handrail that's in Stevenage as well.
Yeah, but that's good.
And also, side note, when he took the photo, Leo took the photo of Kundal, and Jake Brown was there visiting randomly.
The Vert God.
The vert god.
There he is.
What,
Second
what
on
you
the
did
right.
the trick in front of Jake
No,
Brown?
no.
or-
When Kundal did the front nose slide, Leo shot it, and Jake Brown was there just on a trip. through.
Interesting. Big
And he
up Ben
skated
Kundal.
Stevenage Skate Park that day.
Interesting. So growing up in Milton Keynes, what year was this? How old are you? What
So
year
I
are
was
we
born in
talking?
'86.
Okay.
And then I must have been about 6 or 7 years old. I got 2 older brothers, and they showed me Thrashing, like the movie, obviously.
Sick.
And
Big
I was
year,
like,
big peak for
yeah,
skateboarding.
and then Gleam in the Cube, and
Yeah.
I can remember it so well, and I literally from that day like. I was
So
like,
you must have
this-
been dead young, because Gleam in the Cube was 88.
Yeah. So it would have been like
bit
like more
later.
in like early '90s. I was just because I can remember it, and like my dad had dropped me off at theirs, or they were looking after me, and then we just ended up watching it, and I was like, this is everything. And then my brother's like, oh, we've got a skateboard in the shed, you can have it. Classic like bodge board, we called it, like no nose, big square tail. It was like red with a wolf on the bottom, these huge like black soft rubber wheels.
Yeah.
The thing was lightning. As soon as I stepped on it, straight out, like elbows graze, and yeah, and that was like the case like 2 or 3 times, and then stuck at it. Another kid in school had a board, and he was like, oh, there's another kid who's got a skateboard magazine, and it's like, oh my, and then you start to, gel with the skater kids or people who are getting into it. So, and then
So what sort of year are we talking, like early 90s?
yeah, that must have been around 93, 94. I remember. For some reason I can remember it when Jurassic Park came out, which was 93.
Right.
So it was like around that time I saw all
Yeah.
that.
Another good
You
year.
know, Jurassic Park's that
Yeah,
old.
I know.
Fuck. They're doing a remake, aren't they, of Jurassic Park, and it's going to be a 15 apparently, so it's going to be a bit more.
15.
Why did-
It's going to
Like
be
the
not
age-
15
the age
movies. Yeah.
rating.
Yeah, so it's going to be.
It was a
bit more.
U back then, I'm sure.
Yeah, so
which
now
is
it's going to be a bit
Crazy.
more.
It's
blood and
terrifying.
guts. Yeah.
Hopefully
Um,
that would be good.
Yeah.
This is the thing with the remakes. It's like dangerous ground, isn't it? What's the other one they remade recently?
There's another Alien
Like
film
a-
came out, but it's not a remake.
They redid
Break.
Ghostbusters recently, didn't they?
Ghost.
Ghostbusters.
Oh, Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
quite
yeah. I
recent.
suppose that's really good though. The one with
They still got
Paul
Bill
Rudd.
Murray in it as well, right?
Yeah. But yeah, Point Break remake, that kind of ruined that whole thing. I
Didn't
mean,
see
that was
that.
perfect.
I didn't even
Exactly.
know
You
there
don't
was a
need to.
Point Break remake.
Exactly. But it's like if someone said they were going to remake Thrashing now, you're like, oh yeah, it's got Paul Rodrigez in it, and you're like,
P-Rod would be all over that. wouldn't
Yeah,
he?
he
His
would be all
fucking
over
gold
it.
chains.
exactly.
So around that time, like, what was it, 93, 94, when
Yeah.
you got into skating, who was skating around that time with Milton Keynes? Because you had,
And
what
there
was
was
his name
So
from
you-
Milton Keynes at that time?
Rob Selly.
Yeah.
was
That's it,
the
Selly.
Rob
man.
Selly and Paul Hayward were like the
Paul
legends
Hayward.
The dudes,
at
yeah.
that time, and I didn't like get exposed or meet those guys till I was like 13. So I didn't actually start street skating properly till I was about 13 because I just didn't know it was there. We'd drive through town and I'd like see the odd person with a skateboard, but it was more when we were on family trips or days out and I'd see a mini ramp or a skate park and like lose my mind in the car. I'm like, I have to go there. And Dad would be like, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, no chance.
Wicked. Yeah. So it was always around. I didn't properly get into it till 13, but up until then I'd have like rollerblades, BMX, snakeboard. I was like extreme squared. I just had to do something like.
It's what you do as a
mad,
kid, though,
basically.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you just do a bit of everything.
You've still got rollerblades
Mine
now.
was. I don't know where they are.
You've still got some though.
Do you think you can still do
That's
it?
why it took me so long. I came here on the rollerblades through the fog, powering down the A6.
I think, like, joking aside, if I was to put on some roller skates or rollerblades, my ankles would just fold.
Yeah, but haven't they
Now
got
they
all like
would.
support, like ski boots, all the
I
like
know.
laces and ratchets, and
Yeah, I
I don't
guess
know.
so.
Well, they would now, but back then you might have been fine.
Yeah.
You got very weak ankles. I can remember when I first started working, I went to like trip you over, and you were like, "No, I have very fragile ankles. My ankles are like chalk."
They fucking are. My bones are like chalk.
That's exactly what he said to me.
I broke a finger walking up the stairs.
Oh, the time that you broke it, and I said you actually broke it sitting, putting it up your ass and jumping on it.
Fuck's
I don't know why.
So, growing up in Milton Keynes, when did you like? So obviously you're big into snowboarding as well. We'll come to that. But what was kind of the first thing that really got you into that kind of? I hate the word board sports, but was it skating or snowboarding that came first?
Oh,
really?
Skateboarding, 100%. Like I said, thrashing, seeing that completely like changed the trajectory of my life. Like everything is about skateboarding, right? And but it was just trying to get exposure to it because. You didn't
have the internet back then.
Exactly.
It was hard, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was only little, so I didn't know that the train station or Milton Keynes Central was the place to go. So it wasn't until, like I said, another kid in my class at school came in with a copy of Sidewalk, and we're like, oh my God, it's like the Bible. Everyone's just crowding around, and like, you see that even the shape of the boards is different. Like, we got to get those boards. Where do you get them from? And then it wasn't until it was in Milton Keynes Shopping Centre, and they had an All Sports, and there's like at the back. There's like airwalk shoes and stuff. Right at the very top on the wall was this, like I say regular shaped skateboard. What do you even call it? The double nose, like
popsicle.
Yeah, popsicle. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was like these clear wheels, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's what I'm looking for. And then eventually, like Mum Christmas bought me that, and it was like, cool, take it to school. And the other kids got one, and we start just skating up and down the outside of the school, and that was just everything. We're not even olling or doing anything. We didn't know, because you look in the magazines. I didn't know that they were olling onto those ledges and all those things. We just couldn't figure it out, but it didn't matter. The whole thing was just amazing. And then,
what was you say Sidewalk? What can you remember? What issue it was? The first one you saw?
No, I can't remember the first one. I can remember the smell of it though. They had a really distinct smell. Whatever the ink was.
I can remember when you said about everyone looking around it like it was the Bible.
Yeah.
I remember being like 14, 15 or something.
Kind of was
and buying Sidewalks, and like you got. I don't really get it as much now to look through magazines, but maybe that's because I've been involved. Maybe because I've been involved in skating for like 20 years or so now. But like at that time when you're a kid, it's like page to page, isn't it?
Oh my God!
You're like looking at, and then I always used to like the band and the DVD reviews, and then you go to the skate shop and be like, "Have you got this DVD?"
Yeah,
I miss that.
I think I would even go as far as say it was the second magazine I ever got was from a news agent in Lisbon Airport in Portugal. So I would have been 10. Went on a family holiday to Portugal, seen a slap in the newsagents in the airport, and
I would love a slap mag.
It was shot at night. It was a brown cover. Somebody doing backside air over like a hip on like two middies.
Quim Cadona. That might sound. No,
Maybe
that was a thrash. That was a thrasher.
It was always
like
Phil
blurry,
Sheo
like,
and the SF guys, wasn't it? Like Jer Bondarov and all that.
I'm thinking of the Quim Cadona thrasher cover. So completely different cover.
No, I don't know who it was, and. So and then taking that back into school, I was like a legend among the 3 other kids who had skateboards.
I've never seen it. I've never seen a slap magazine or looked through a slap magazine. It's like
it was a good man.
Obviously there's like the slap forum, but like I've never had the chance to actually have a slap magazine and look through it.
This was in like 1996 around then. Like if you can look at slap covers from then.
How was slap? Was it like a thin magazine? Was it a thick one like Trans World?
It was a bit thinner than Thrasher, but
like Big Brother magazines were quite thin as well, weren't they?
It was made in the offices below Thrasher originally.
It had the yellow writing similar to that, but it was like a mini ramp cover, and he was like doing whoever it was doing this.
We'll try and find it. I've got a few copies of Slap.
Unless I'm mistaken that for a shot inside, but that's the picture that really stood out to me because the guy was just so high. He was like tweaked, and also like the street lights in the background were all like blurry from like the motion. Right. But still, and I can remember this like bit at the back of that issue where they would put like just stupid random ads of stuff that they would just sell in the office, like random stuff. But they had, like the little plastic wedge ramp kickers. Yeah. Someone in the slap office would put 2 together like a little mini, and someone was just doing a hand plant on it. Obviously, it wasn't like a full invert. He'd just jumped, and I like literally couldn't stop staring at it. Lost my mind, and then went to the States when I was about 11 or 12 to go to Disney with my mum, and we went to a Vans store there. Got like a pair of legit Vans skate shoes and a board from there. But again, even the board I got there wasn't from a skate shop. It was from like another sporting goods place. But it's still an upgrade from the All Sports one, which was just. Look back at it. It was that grip that was just worn down all smooth and that. But we didn't care. You didn't know any better.
Well, you don't know any different. What was like your first setup then?
I'd say that was the first
like
proper
your
setup.
proper.
And I have a photo of me skating on it. I can show you it, like outside our house in Milton Keynes, and I've got like camo trousers on and a white hoodie and Campus or Gazelles, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
So it was destined to be.
Yeah, and like my dad found that photo when I started working at Adidas. He was like, "Here, check this out." I was like, "Oh my god, look at the stees! I'm way ahead of time there."
You'll have to send it to us
Did
so
you
I
have long
can
hair
overlay
then?
it.
No, like classic short cropped hair
Yeah.
spiky at the front, like every school kid in
Yeah.
the 90s.
Proper era.
And then that was it. And then the sidewalk started having the pages in the middle where the skate shops would show every product they sell.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was bang on the time when World Industries was just
Big shit.
everything. So we were all like, we have to get World boards, and that was it. So went to Surrey Skates in Woking,
Yeah.
which I think might be still there. I'm not sure.
Don't know.
And got a World Industries set out with Orion trucks and all that. And
Orion
that,
trucks, I not heard them.
Yeah, for a long time.
What's
Great setup.
the skate shop that was in Milton Keynes? Was it BBC? Or they're the branch
Before
of
that, so you had obviously
Kate Skates.
No, that's
none.
up in the Lake
There
District.
is
Yeah,
there
it's
is
like
a-
Barrow and Furnaces.
There is a weird. There was a
Yeah,
weird one.
it is
but
Barrow and Furnace.
it's not
Yeah.
Bucks Boarding Centre, is it?
Yeah, so
in
that
Milton
was
Keynes?
a skate snowboard shop in Milton Keynes. But
BBC.
before that, you had so the first one I ever experienced was called Shotgun, which was in the bottom of the Milton Keynes shopping centre, and it was like didn't really sell much skate stuff. It was like associated fashion brands and like Duff stuff. And
I
a
miss
couple of
Duffs.
boards, yeah. And we would go in there and buy like just random like risers, just something to say we went in there and bought something, but like it was just all too expensive. And then there was this other one called Arcadia.
Okay.
That was like directly opposite Shotgun. That didn't last too long. And then the guy who was manager or owner of that set up a skate like Barrow stall in the shopping centre, which I think was, I can't remember what that was called. But he had like all like legit skate stuff on there, like good brands, like loads of Karma boards and all that. So
Legit.
sorry, did I say legit
Whoa.
brands?
well, maybe. No, it can stay in there.
No,
but
no.
maybe at that time, Karma was a little bit.
Yeah,
more
so
legit.
yeah.
Yeah, it was. It had like a really good team and everything at that point.
Yeah, so at that point,
Yeah, yeah,
Sean Smith and Joe Nobes had just got on
Oh,
Karma.
Sean Smith.
So they were like, so obviously before that, when you start, so we got our World Industries boards and we go to the train station, which we see inside. We're like, we can go there. Rob Selly's like the king of Milton Keynes and that, and
Still
then
is.
Paul Hayward, yeah, still is, yeah. And Paul Hayward was skating around with him before he dropped off.
But he was so good as well.
yeah,
Paul
he was one of the
Hayward.
first people to ever be on Nike for skateboarding.
Mhm.
I remember there was an announcement inside, or again, he was doing a front blunt on the high marble ledges at the Theatre District. We were
Yeah.
like, wow, that's Paul's. Wow, he's on Nike. This is amazing. But yeah, and then, but it was Rob was the focus. So he was on Blueprint at that time in DC. He's just phenomenal, and he was really nice. So we'd skate this little mini ramp on the edge of town. He'd always be there. He'd always be so nice to us younger kids who were annoying. Let's
With
face
World
it.
Industries boards.
With World Industries boards, cargo shorts cut off to like 3/4. We looked at like every 2000s kid, with the beads and the spiky hair. Classic.
Selly's sick though. Like he's
Yeah.
still a nice fella to this day
Yeah.
as well.
Did
And he-
Swift Blazer post something up about him recently, and it was all the original stuff from Anthems?
Maybe. I don't know.
It's the first Panic video. It's so good, and it still holds up. He's doing like switch flip back tails, and it's like that's like
Yeah, his thing was the
30
switch flip 5-0 shove out.
yeah,
which was
fucking
like
hell. He
his-
was so good. Still
Yeah.
is.
What's
and he would do the nose slide like 180 round, switch nose 180 round to front nose, like all that
Front
stuff.
side half cab, no front side nose slides coming out forward.
You know what
He just did it so well.
Yeah.
When I think of Milton Keynes without fail, the one clip that comes to mind is Sean Smith's switch backside flip tail up the T
Yeah.
block, because that thing's like
It's ridiculous.
that's huge, and he does it up out to fakie, doesn't
Yeah.
it? That's insane.
Yeah.
But before
Sure.
the T block was there was just like that little planter in the middle.
Yeah, when was it?
No, there was
when was it
nothing in
built?
the middle.
No, originally I'm sure there was a planter because I remember.
Maybe on the far side where the Chicago Rock Cafe was, it there, and they put signs on it. But the main bit where the plaza is now, there was nothing in the middle. When I was there, you just had the long high marble ledge run down the little two set,
Yeah.
and then the marble into the underpass.
I
was
remember
it.
if the first ever, I might be wrong because my brain is going, the first ever event they held at the bus station. Yeah, it's a bus station. isn't
Yeah,
it?
again, this
And there
would have
was,
been
there was
well
a
before my
marble,
time. I can't
marble
remember.
planter in the middle because you used to ollie up and do tricks off the end of it. And then that is where the mani pad is now.
Oh, right. So must have just been taken away then
Yeah,
by the
to
time
clear.
we got there.
I might be wrong, but Leo Sharp would know because he was around then at
Yeah.
that point.
Who else was around at that time then? When were you starting to skate like the Buzzy and stuff?
Yeah,
like
so this would have been when I was 13 exactly, and then as we started showing up there, Mark Clappe was like the next hero. I don't know if you remember Mark Clappe. He skated for Clown, maybe not then, but he got on Clown right when I started coming, yeah. And he was from Bletchley and went to school with Joe Nobes, Carter Hewlett, those guys. So that was like their crew.
Where's Joe Nobes at? He was sick.
He was on
Still
Karma, yeah. I don't really know how else to describe him other than he's like sick. He was one of the main guys in MK who did the gnarly stuff, you know. First hit handrails, first to do the Forde post house double set, you know, outside
He's
of like big pros.
a
tree surgeon.
Tree surgeon. He gave me a really good tip on back freeze, which I was telling someone at the weekend how to do them. It's a really good tip and works.
What is the tip?
It's top secret. You have to join
360 and right away.
No, you put your front foot has to be in like a tray flip position.
Oh, right.
Oh, so when it brings it round, it lands back in its place.
And it works. It does work.
Does your back foot come off naturally, or is it the?
No, your
front foot comes off
always
naturally,
kind of goes a bit baggy, but
yeah,
unless you pop it super high like people. Anyway, big up Joe Nobes.
Yeah,
big up.
He was a nice dude. Still is.
And Mark Clappe, he's a lovely guy, and I think so he went as far as most people do in UK skateboarding before they realised there's not letting it go on something else, and he became like a dancer, I think, like in like pretty high end music videos and stuff. He was like really good at that, and then. Last time I saw him, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, he was working at Bay, maybe.
Right.
I know he goes there a lot with his kids now, and he's still really good at skating.
Yeah.
And just happily does it for fun. But yeah, so Mark Clappe, Joe Nobes, and then Rob, and like Paul Atwood obviously disappeared. Rob went on to do other things, and then Sean Smith became the next.
Fucking hell,
legend.
Sean Smith
God,
was so good.
I remember I first met him in a bar in Barca. And we were both pretty fucked. But I can remember just like staring and being like, oh my God, that's Sean Smith.
In your drinking days?
Yeah.
I bet you were a nightmare, weren't you? When you
I'd love to have seen that. In fact, I'd love to have gone on a session with you, I think.
We could get back on it for one night and we could just go out.
Just go fucking wild.
I'd just love to see it for about 10 minutes. So, yeah, Sean Smith.
Yeah, so he blew up super fast. And as that was happening, that was around the time that I got into snowboarding, like skate. I was just, the guys I was skating with from school were sort of falling out of love with it and I was skating with various people at the station, but...
Motive Skateboards was around then, wasn't it?
So he was still on Karma at this point for ages,
and then a lot of them jumped over to Motive, didn't they?
Yeah, which is Rob Sally's thing, right?
Yeah.
There was...
And he was on DC as well. I think he had a pretty good deal with DC.
Yeah, he was so good.
What year would have that been with Motive then? That was early 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably early 2000s.
Couple of years.
We all had that Rizzler board, the white one with the gold Karma on it, which I thought was a nice board, good shape.
It's still going.
Is it still going?
It's still going.
I thought they got nicked by Rizzler, or I thought they got told.
No, I think it's still going. I don't know what's going on with Karma or who's there or anything with it anymore, but
it's done through the guys down south somewhere in it, the Far Academy.
That's another story.
Which is.
Yeah, that's another episode. All the UK hardware brands or deck brands. That's a good episode in itself.
There's been a lot, hasn't there?
Yeah.
But there's been a lot. But there you go.
I mean, it seems like they've changed it to be just enough to get away with it.
But is it?
I mean,
Still
if you know
so
Rizzler,
obvious,
you know the design, but
yeah, if you change something slightly, they
like,
don't have a legal
if that was
standpoint.
if that was the cross.
If anything, now Rizzler should be encouraging them to do it, because the kids now aren't going to know what Rizzler is. You'd be better off doing a vape font on a board graphic, right? To get the kids.
Elf bar.
Yeah.
I would kill for a board company to come out where all the graphics were just different flavours of vapes.
It's going
I
to
would
happen
be
soon.
sucking in.
Or boards that ship with disposable vapes.
Yeah. So around that time, Motive, Sean Smith, Rob
They were
Sally.
blowing it, and then a lot of those guys that were there, locals, they formed this thing, EGC crew, which was the Eldergate crew, which the Eldergate was the road where the Buzzy's on, and that was headed up by this guy called Carter Hewlett, who's a friend of mine. Really, really good filmer, really good skater, ultimate steez. He like got everyone together and started making like local MK videos again, EGC crew videos. They're amazing. Like, dig some out and watch them. They're so good.
We'll overlay some during this.
Yeah, and so all those guys had parts in that. And yeah, literally as that time, I was like, so I would have been 14 or 15, and I was already super interested in snowboarding and had done it on a family ski holiday before. They built that snow dome there, and it was like, oh, we got to try snowboarding, we got to give it a go there, and yeah, we just got super into it really quick, because it's like all the things you wanted to do on your skateboard, you could do so easily and fast on the snowboard, right? So I was just fascinated with it. Oh, here we go.
Are you going to pop
Paul
up in
Norris,
this?
what a guy.
2017 reunion. This was.
Oh, so you got all the boys in it
Nathan.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my next questions. Like, when did you
There's
start?
Mark.
When did you start getting more into snowboarding as opposed
Yeah,
to skiing?
literally.
But you kind of just answered
at that time, yeah. So just going there, and I think maybe I was like 14, because it was the school summer holidays, and my mum would just drop me off there
At
and
the
pick me up
Snowdome.
at 5. Yeah, so they did a 3-month pass for 90 quid.
Yeah.
Just about to
Unlimited
say,
use.
was it cheaper then? Because I look at indoor
It's
snow
not.
domes,
It's
and it's so
astronomical.
expensive
But
sometimes.
it's like they had a glitch in the system. They were like, yeah, we're going to do this 3-month pass for 90 quid, unlimited use. And it was over the school holiday. So my mum was like, yeah, absolutely. And my
I know,
friend
I'm
from
dropping
school
the
got the
kids
same.
off, yeah.
So I was there every day. I had World Industries outerwear, it was like the full like skate crossover, and just got obsessed with it. And just,
Yeah.
I was like, this is just so, not so much more fun, but it's so much more rewarding in a way. I don't know, because
Yeah.
I wanted to go like 10 feet in the air and do melon grabs on my skateboard, but there wasn't a single ramp in Milton Keynes. It was all ledges, and I always wanted to be a park transition skate. I just thought that was way better.
But
and
you're
you just
from
couldn't
Milton
do it.
Keynes, which is, like you say, is just ledge central.
Yeah, and
no transition there at all, apart
Exactly.
from the odd mini ramp.
and if I did good at school, I would get to go to Redlands on the weekend, so that was quite rare. And then you get to Redlands, you'd be like, oh my god, everything is enormous, and floor's slippy, and there's rollerbladers everywhere. I was like, that was so difficult to skate there.
Yeah.
But still loved going, and we'd like make a full day of it, and like, you get to know the Ince family pretty well, going all the time, and it's nice. I'm glad I
Yeah.
can say I was a part of the Radlands
That was
thing.
that kind of near the end of Redlands as well.
Yeah, so I first started going to Radlands in '99, because it was bang on when Europe '99 video came out. So the S branding was everywhere, that whole look. And
The 411 video.
Yeah.
That's quite a sought after.
Oh my god, it's so
Europe
good. Yeah, it's so
99.
good.
I always see people
Yeah.
wanting to buy it on skate forums. Like, has anyone got
It's
this
on
video?
YouTube though. You can watch
Yeah,
the whole
but
thing.
Yeah, but
people wanna
you want the
own it,
physical,
yeah.
and I've had it as well,
it
and I've
was-
sold it.
I got Europe. I think the first one 4-on-1 did was Europe 95.
Yeah, maybe
96.
there's definitely a few before.
Oh, there were such good videos. They were the 2 years I went out and did that European contest circuit as well. So you got the videos with all the highlights. It was like, wow, it was
Amazing.
so good. And the British champs, I mean, we've spoken about it loads on here, but like they were fucking unreal.
Yeah,
You just arrive in Northampton and it'd be like, oh, there's Eric Costin,
yeah.
there's
Everyone.
Jason Ellis Pukin, there's Mike Vallely. And it was just, yeah, it was pretty.
Like everyone.
It was a very strange time looking back, but it was.
Yeah,
good.
how all those
For a
people
load
got
of,
to
like-
that grotty industrial estate
Yeah.
in Northampton.
Yeah,
And I'm really fascinated. I'm like, where did they stay? Where did they stay in there? Where did they eat? Where did I was like,
yeah.
because when you start hanging around
the
there,
questions we want answered.
Yeah.
And there would always be Brazilians with their boots would be full of Brazilian branded hardware, and they were always trying to swap things for your gear because I guess
Really?
American stuff was super hard to get hold of. I remember being out the back of some car and this Brazilian guy's trying to give me like 3 Brazilian boards for my whatever board I had at the time. I was just like, but the boards were really thick, and I was like, back then you wanted like.
But where were they coming from? What, they imported these?
I guess they were flown over and they were trying to get boards to take back or something. But there was always the Brazilians were there, like Radil Jr. and all that lot, and they killed it every time. They would
Yeah.
always be there on fire. But and then they do the full European circuit with everyone else. But yeah, it was
Yeah, that video,
Good
man.
times.
It opens with Marseille,
yeah.
and then they go to Radlands, and then they're at that one in Germany.
Munster.
Yeah, with the Titus branding everywhere in that
Yeah.
park, and like
I watched some Munster footage recently, and yeah, there's just Titus banners
Yeah.
everywhere. It's
And,
fucking
like,
sick.
Yeah, it was good times.
Yeah. You love
But
it.
that
don't you?
era of Radlands, like since then looking back, all the different layouts and all the times that it's had, I feel like that was like the golden era of Radlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 flat banks and then the big quarter pipe in the middle, and it's just everything. So when Palace opened that Mwadlands part,
Yeah.
when it was built really, oh my god, that was so well done. Hats off to those guys for that. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So getting to go to Radlands and being involved at that time, and then skated there a bit. Like my mum does have some photos of me skating around us, but it was so difficult. Everything was so massive. It's quite a weird one to get into. And then, so then the snowboarding thing came around, and you're like, whoa, we can jump like 10 foot in the air for these little snow jumps and do melon grabs and methods. And we're like, this is amazing. And then when they started introducing rails, and we could already just take over our rail game from skateboarding, but knowing how to board side from the side and approach things properly, we got really good really quickly. And then the contest started coming around. There was like a whole UK snowboarding scene that I had no idea about. And the competition started coming in.
Was there magazines as well for it in the UK?
There was 3 different magazines for snowboarding in the UK alone, which is just mad. There's one now.
They?
So you had Snowboard UK, Document Snowboard.
I remember Document Snowboard.
And what was the other one? Damn. White Lines.
Yeah, that's still a website, isn't it? White Lines.
Yeah, they produce like one a year or a big annual or something like that. And like, it's still kind of around.
So did you start entering the contest?
And did terribly in the beginning, as you do, but just meeting loads of other people and seeing that they're doing, and meeting these other snowboarders from like up north or wherever, and they're like, yeah, we're sponsored by this summer company, and we're going here to this trip and that. I'm like, whoa! I'm like, that sounds amazing. And then I was like, hang on, snowboarding could be my ticket out of Milton Keynes. I was like, I didn't really ever see anything ever happening in skating other than I enjoyed it. Sure, I would have loved to be a pro skater. Who wouldn't when you're that young, right? But the reality was I was terrible, and I just liked who I was meeting in snowboarding and where that could potentially go. I loved being in the mountains at all costs. So I was like, I'm gonna stay more to this at the moment and just skate every now and then. And then it just went pretty quick from there. Got sponsored within 2 years, I think, by Ride Snowboards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then other brands started coming along.
When you're a sponsored snowboarder, when you're a sponsored skateboarder, you get free boards.
Yeah.
And you go through them pretty quick.
Yeah.
How long does a snowboard last, and how many are you getting?
And
so in the beginning, you get one setup and a jacket and
what's the damages that it takes, to where you know that you need a new one?
I rode some with pieces of edge missing, the nose completely open.
Does the flex eventually start to
Yeah, they just become dead and have no pop, but you almost get used to it and adjust to it.
Sorry, no pop. But pop is the sound of a tail.
Okay, right. So in
I'm not trying to be a dick,
pop,
but is that?
We use that term.
So is that the ability to use the flex of the board to get off the ground? Right.
Yeah. So you basically
I came across as
buoyancy.
Kick all your weight back and lift the nose up, and you could spring off the tail.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever you see somebody looking at a new snowboarder in a shop, they're always flexing it like that, and some are super soft, some are stiff as boards, and you just get used to it. But ultimately, the sort of springier the board, the more suited for freestyle it is, and it's got good pop basically. So I rode them until they were completely falling to bits, and and this is in the early days, so it's one board a year or one board a season, something like that. And then I think even at the height of being a pro snowboarder, I would only use 4 boards a year. They last ages, and that was when we were riding in streets and absolutely thrashing the bases. But
so did you have your name on a board?
No, never.
So you never had a pro model, but
no.
You were receiving money.
Yeah. So so I sort of did that when I said pro snowboarder, and I need to clear this up because it's very loose. So in no way were we professional about anything, right? We would just save up all the money and go away for a full winter and just snowboard on the indoor.
Yeah.
Do contests, appear in magazines, film our own little video parts. Super similar to skateboarding in that sense. And then you get hooked up, you get free boards or free whatever you need, depending on who you ride for. Then you get travel budge, whatever that is. And then
that's travel budget.
So no one travel industry talk, a bit of travel budge goes a long way.
Yeah.
That's when people
literally one letter difference in those 2 words.
The best one on that is per diem, per Dizzler.
Oh yeah, we never got that though.
You get your per Dizzler.
Actually, one of the trips we did get that, but that was rare. And then you would get photo incentive on top of that, depending on what brand you were with. So that was it. So it's professional, but you're not getting paid a wage. You're just getting paid to continue to do it.
Yeah.
And some of the brands I was with were like, look, you've done really well this year. We can't pay you, but we're going to give you extra gear. We want you to go sell it to try and...
Okay.
So they know that that's a way of
they want to support you. Because you don't ride for the brand, you ride for a distributor, right, who's bringing in a product from the US usually. and then they're sorting you out. So for them, that guy's a sales rep. He's got to make his money selling the boards and his commissions and whatnot, and then he's going to carve off some marketing budget from the distributor for you to go and attend the contests and be in the mags and all that stuff. So, but it wasn't until I got on Vans, I can't remember what year that was, but that was when I started to get a bit more of a proper deal and contract and
Money? You get paid?
no, again, never a wage, but
So you rode for Vans Snowboarding?
yeah.
Because that was one of my questions. Did you also get the option to get Vans shoes as well? Did they want you in the gear?
Yes. Which
Oh,
was
amazing.
Brilliant. That
Yeah.
was the dream come true sponsor for me, to get on
Yeah.
something like Vans. That way I could have separate board sponsor, eyewear and outerwear or whatever. And at the time, some of my friends rode for Burton, so they were head to toe with the Burton thing. But Vans was the ultimate because we got the skate stuff, which is what.
Did you hear that stomach? That
Are you hungry?
was crazy, yeah.
Do you want my roast chicken?
No,
Salad
I'll
wrap.
wait till we go for lunch break. So you got these shoes, you were still in the gear, you could have separate board and
Yeah,
gear
it's
deals.
cool. Yeah, and so just being able to get free shoes was the one.
Yeah.
Did you rinse that?
I rinsed that pretty good. Yeah. And actually at the time, Tom Knox had just got on Vans
Yeah.
snowboarding as well. And we were on a trip to somewhere in France, and he even said,
Tom Knox was on Vans Snowboarding, so I know
Yeah.
his brother does it.
yeah, we'll get to that bit. But so
Yeah.
Tom was on Vans snowboarding originally.
Okay.
And he even said on one of the trips when he's like, I'm only doing this just so I can get the skate shoes to keep skating.
Yeah.
And then that lasted a couple of years, and then he was on Vans for skateboarding and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then his younger brother Sparrow got good, and this is almost like 10 years gone here, and then I became team manager at Vans, and I put Sparrow on and got his deal with Europe. So it's like
Yeah, we'll get into the
So
Vans
yeah.
stuff.
how did you transition from being a rider on Vans to being on the other side of the industry?
yeah.
Like what?
Again,
Tell us how that
yeah.
all happened.
So again, to that point of like being a pro snowboarder and wanting to just do that as much as possible, I said to Vans when I got on, I was like, listen, I really want to work for you someday. I really want to be a part of this thing. I love it. I
Yeah.
love the brand and everything that you do. How can I do that? And I would have been 20 at the time, 19, 20. And they were like, well, listen, we do a lot of events through the summer, board masters, all these things. He's like, do you want to come and work the stand and give key rings to kids and set up? And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started doing those events, board masters.
A little
What was that
tip
other
there
one?
for people listening: if you want to be involved in the industry, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
And being like open to. Like
yeah.
you're saying,
People
like,
think just because you're a sponsored rider, you're just in, which can look like that from the outside, but it's certainly not the case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to knuckle down and do it.
A lot of other friends of mine who were sponsored by other brands, they didn't want to pursue that avenue. They were like, nah, not interested. I'm like, this is everything to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do whatever I can
Yeah.
to be a part of it. So yeah, I would work board masters. That one in a field down in Bath. What was that called?
The Bath
Nas.
and West, Bath and West Showground.
Yeah, so
Nice,
did all
yeah.
that stuff, and then I was like, yeah, this is brilliant. Anything else? And they're like, do you want to come out next week and clean the warehouse? This was at the London office. I was like, yep, cool, I'm there. I'm like, empty it out, sweeping the floor, clearing the shit out of a burst pipe, just anything. And then,
Just showing the initiative that you actually
This
do
is
like
it,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what you got to do, isn't it?
And then, then the season comes around again, and then we're off doing bits. Then it was like, well, hey, I'm in Austria. You've got the trade shows in Germany and that. Why don't I come and work the stand? I can talk to anyone about the boots I'm using, but ultimately I'll again do whatever you need me to do. So I would run the little bars or work the bars on their ISPO booze and basically get people drunk that came onto the stand, which was really cool.
ISPO back then was insane, wasn't it?
I don't think you can call it a trade show. It's basically just like a festival, like
Yeah.
sponsored by loads of different brands.
What was the other one? Bread and Butter in Berlin, and it was originally in Barcelona, I think. And like that was just like people, like
Just
the brands
loose.
would just have like, you might not want to put this in. They just have like hot tubs with birds in it,
Yep.
with their knockers out.
Oh,
There'd
it's
be-
going in.
There'd be people getting pissed up.
Yep.
There'd be partying. And that was the stand.
Yep.
And everyone was like trying to outdo the next one.
Yep.
And it was like carnage, wasn't it? I remember going to a few of them and just being like,
It was amazing. Then there was so
fuck is
much
going
money
on
in the
here?
industry
Yeah,
then.
it
It's
was
definitely
different,
not there
yeah.
now, whether people have just tightened up and realised that was just a big cock-waving competition
Yeah.
or not. But one of the ISPOs, Burton, had a whole like street with all
Yeah.
their little sub-brands all off. Then Ride and K2 had a bar but with a peep show in it, and they give you these coins, you go into, but it was boards like rotating round. And
No,
and
that's
you're
such a good
let
idea.
down. Yeah, so people get really creative and do all these cool things, and some of the Vans ones are that they would have bands come and play on the stand, which was just brilliant, and it would just go off. You know, if you was to look at ISPO from afar, from sort of 3 p.m. onwards, you just see like product flying in the air, and people just like, yeah, grabbing boots up the, and just crazy. So for anyone who was a sales rep for a brand at that time and was hoping to do some business there,
Good luck.
you just couldn't. You'd have to get in there at like 8 in the morning and get it done quick. But so yeah, mad that was a thing. Glad we got to all experience that, but it's not like that anymore.
No.
My God, no.
No, it's changed a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strictly business now.
So what was happening after that? You're cleaning the warehouses.
Oh
What
yeah,
was
so
the
yeah,
next
clean, yeah, doing
Working the
anything.
shows in Europe.
Yeah, and again, summers, events.
And how long did that last for? Was it like a couple of years?
Yeah, it was a few years, and then it was exactly around the time that I snapped my femur. I
It's a
would
bad
say
one
like the
to
prime
snap.
of my snowboarding. I was about to go to the US with my board sponsor. They invited me over to be part on some trips, and not my team manager, but the guy from the distributor at the time was like, "Hey, this could be your sort of big break in a way where you can get onto the US team and actually."
And
take
it ended
this."
up being a big break in other way.
Yeah, and 2 weeks before I snapped my leg in two, and that put me out for a year and a half, 2 surgeries. The first one to put a metal bar through the inside of my bone,
Yeah.
and they bolted it above the knee and in the hip, and that stayed in for 1 year, where I did as much work for Vans as I possibly could in that year of putting stickers in bags or whatever it was, helping them organise snowboard competitions, come up with that stuff. So I was like even more involved in that year off, which was just brilliant. And I still worked in a snowboard shop in that off time as well. Then the metal bar came out, and then that was another 6 months off. Then I went back to it, and I was like, right, okay, here we go.
Sounds horrific.
Yeah, it was awful.
So, how did you break it without giving too much detail?
So-
As much detail as you can, because I love this shit.
It's a snowboarding break.
Snowboarding, right? Yeah. So we were setting up a photo shoot on a handrail in Germany. It was like that's basically.
Isn't it
exactly
the
how it went
worst bone to break?
It is in
It's
your
the
leg,
down. It
yeah.
takes 2
the
tons of force.
hardest.
Yeah.
I think
hell.
I
Also, the
think
major
that's the
artery
one.
runs through it, so
Yeah.
it can be.
I think that's the one that
life-threatening.
Ali
Yeah, it's the one
did
Ali
as well,
did
and
as well, yeah.
he was
Sorry, yeah,
bleeding
go
to
on.
death.
Setting up a photo shoot,
On a
handrail.
handrail, and there was 2 handrails. There was a small one, which was like 16 stairs, and then a massive. Well, I say massive. It's not now, but it was like 30 stairs, and they went like this in a line, and I was like, "But in
not massive
snowboarding,
now.
no, but in
Fucking
snowboarding
sounds
now they
massive
do
to-
like 80 stair rails. It's ridiculous." But
You might, just to cut you off, you might know the video I'm on about. I tried telling Fraser. Seen a snowboarding video recently. It's a massive, looks like a castle wall. Someone goes to drop off it into a tiny
Little
snow
bunker,
quarter,
yeah.
and he just lands flat.
is he on a snowboard or a sledge?
I think he's on a snowboard,
Because
and he comes off a massive brick wall, like old,
like a castle.
grey-
So it sounds like it's the spot in Quebec.
and
the
he
castle.
just
yeah.
lands on the floor, and I'm like, he's got to be dead, but he's just like, hey, dude.
Yeah, it sounds like it's Mikey LeBlanc and Quebec castle spot, but that spot's in every snow video, and somebody does that every season in a video. It's quite a popular trick and
it's
spot. So I
insane.
couldn't tell you the video, but I
I'm
could.
still getting over it. You said it was 30 stairs, but now they're doing 80 stairs. Like,
Well, just something they're doing like
it
ridiculously
sounds
big
insane.
rails. I
Sorry,
know.
anyway, so you're setting up this photo
Setting up,
shoot.
and the plan was I was going to do a double line, like do both rails in a row. So I'm like, I will just warm up on the smaller one while we get the lights and everything up, because it's 10:30 at night on a Sunday. It's bucketing it down with snow, and we're in some tiny mountain village in Bavaria. And I drop in, go to hit the small rail, and just as I'm about to, like I'm approaching it, my mate comes to walk up the stairs, like for his go, and I'm like, oh, hesitate. So I just put my hands on the rail and
Mute.
ride down the stairs.
Yeah.
Which is what you do when you're warming up in snowing to hit a street rail. You would just ride down the stairs, put your hand on it just to get you used
Cushion,
to.
yeah.
Just get used to it. And my board wasn't straight; it was actually aligned to go underneath the rail. So the nose of my board hit the second leg that holds the rail up,
Yeah.
propelled me forward, and the left
Like
leg
wrapped
hit
you
the
round
third
it.
rail and wrapped clean round. So I remember as it happened, it was like slow motion. I thought it had hit my knee and split my knee apart, and I rolled back on the floor screaming. I like shunt forward to undo my bindings, because when you get hurt on your snowboard, you want to get up and walk off. You're like, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So I did that, and undid my bindings, fell back. I was like, I fucked my knee. It's fine. And then everyone comes running over. They're like, okay. What makes you think you've done your knee? I'm like, I don't know. Like, can you move it? And I went to like lift my leg up like that, and I just saw this in the top of my trousers.
So it,
And my mate Gary he just went white, and he was like, and everyone just started screaming and scrambling, and I remember putting my head back, my fingers in my ears because I didn't want to hear the scream, and I was like, right, you fucked it now. And I was like, this is bad, but try and remain calm and just think positively. And I was like, are my hands all right? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, I can play guitar when I get home. I just play guitar. And they're running around, and like I said, we're in this tiny little remote.
Yeah, so
Bavarian
how'd you
town.
get... You're obviously just bleeding out, right?
Didn't bleed out. It wasn't compound
okay.
fracture. Yeah, so it stayed in. And then they're just trying to shout people off the road. Someone's called an ambulance. I think within 30 minutes, an ambulance came. Put me in, and I'm screaming, and they take my snowboard boot off, and I'm like, you know, someone said give him something for the pain. Like, we can't until another doctor comes along. And like, we have to get the kit off, and snowboard boots are well hard to take off. And they're like cranked up. And I'm like, and he's pulling on it and pulling on it. Then he takes my snowboard pants off, and the gaiter gets caught on my ankle. And I'm like, and then finally it just comes taking my thermal. And I'm like, this ain't gonna hurt. And the doctor's like, yeah, administer the morphine. And then that was it. It was like,
you were like, woohoo.
Yeah, I started coming out with all kinds of rubbish, like, mate, thanks so much for picking me up. Listen, my dad's a builder. I'm going to get him to build you a house, anything you want. And just, it's amazing, like, all the crap you come out with on that.
Yeah.
And then, taken straight to hospital in Garmisch, which is that big town in Germany where the ski jump is, you know, where Eddie the Eagle was filmed. And that
Classic.
town.
Shout out Eddie the Eagle.
Shout out Eddie the Eagle.
Just in case he's watching.
Just in case he's listening. He might do.
Random shout out we've had.
Operated on me that night, put the metal bar in, and I stayed in for 10 days and then flew home. This would have been in February.
How was the flight home? Do you have to keep your legs straight? Can you
No,
still
I can bend
your knee?
it. So the next day after the operation, they got me out of bed and told me to start walking. I was like, are you mad?
Yeah.
Because I woke up and came to them like, where's the cast? What's going on? They're like, no cast. We put a metal bar in your leg. And I'm like,
Have you got the?
did you?
Have you got a scar
I've got a
down
pretty
the
big
side?
scar. Do you want
Let's
to
get
see
it out.
The-
Oh, it's down from the back of the hip.
Yeah, so that little one there's the first one where the German doctors put it in. And this one here, the big one, is where the English doctors took it out in Milton Keynes, and it got stuck. They threaded the rod in my leg. There's a tool that goes in to pull it out, but the tool they put in threaded, so they had to re-thread this piece of metal while I'm sparked out on the operating table, and then pull it out, and then it was a mess. Well, Mum's got it in a bag at home.
The metal bar.
Yeah, it's titanium rod.
Fucking hell.
Do you think we can get it and just keep it on the set?
Can we get a photo of it?
Such a sick
Use it to
thing.
like hang people's jackets on.
Can
and
you
stuff.
send a photo so we can put it on the...
Yeah. I'll get a photo of him.
So my question to you from having that injury, for me, I know how it would go. PTSD all day long. Like, how has it affected you?
Because you're still skating and snowboarding and stuff.
Yeah,
as well.
to be honest, I don't think about it at all now. And even after at the time, I was so motivated to get back to that point in snowboarding that I'd worked so long to get to, where I was invited to the US by my board sponsor to try and make the jump to the next level. And so within a year and a half off, then my next win's coming back. I had to build up all that confidence again and relearn everything. And
was there not any, like when you were going snowboarding, you'd like look at a rail or something and you'd get like the shiver of
so for a while I didn't hit open rails. I would only hit ones that were closed in, you know, where you couldn't go underneath. So I did that for a bit.
The ones that are like the legs are all the way at the end and they're okay.
But at the end of the day, it's a freak accident.
Yeah.
Like,
that
it was just a real
before.
bad timing. So.
Yeah. On a really small rail, 16 stair. Again, that's big in skateboarding, I know. But in snowboarding, it is small because, well, you're strapped to the thing. It's ridiculous. Like, right? But so I wouldn't hit those open rails, and then coming back to it, I had to like relearn all the tricks, regain all that confidence. And I was in Austria. I was living with my two best mates at the time there, and I just had a really fun season getting back to it. Like, took it real slow, just spent the whole winter dicking around. It was when GoPros first came on the scene, so they sent us a bunch and we were just making little mini edits with them. They were getting loads of views, and we're like, well, we don't really need to do that anymore. We can just dick around and have fun, and it's getting some coverage for the sponsors. So so finished that season out, and everyone was like, yeah, we'll just keep you going as is. Like, you know, that opportunity's gone to go to the US with Ride and whatnot. But so I went back again the next season to just keep going because it was just so much fun. So it would have been 25, 26. And then in that first month of the season, I was riding powder, and I hit through the trees, and my board went under. Sometimes that happens when you're in the powder, and then you can come back up. But when it went under, I hit a tree root and snapped my ACL. Not ACL, sorry, my MCL, the one on the side. And I bent over the tree. So I just come back from same leg. So
Same
I
leg.
crawled out of the woods. I was like, no, please, God, no, not this again. Managed to get on the chair back down, and the mates drove me to a sports clinic there, MRI, and they're like, yeah, this is done. But it wasn't too bad. They were like, you could probably come back in about 2 months. I was like, well, that's the best part of the season gone. So yeah, I stayed in Austria, hung around, drinking, and just I was a DJ and a rock DJ in a bar there, which was
Legend.
pretty funny. Yeah, and Vans were like, we're putting an end of season trip onto the US. You know, can you go on it? I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be okay by then. And it's with like the new guys on the team that I'd helped them find.
I was gonna ask, did you help with the team side?
Yeah, so even during that time, I was like, I'd already spotted the new guys coming up. I was like, hey, we need to get these on.
Yeah.
So we went to the US with Vans for like 2 weeks. In fact, no, I went earlier and went to Colorado on this snowmobiling trip and stayed in a cabin 10,000 feet up. No running water, no electricity. Stayed up there for 2 nights. It was mega. And the guys would like skidoo you to various lines and guide you in that. So so I had that. That was through Dragon, which was my eyewear sponsor at the time. And then stayed on for this Vans trip. We were at Bear Mountain in California, and the young bucks were ripping. They were just killing it. And I was shit. And I hated it. I was so miserable. I was like, I'm here already. I'm like, I was so down. So I still put like a couple of moves down. But those kids were just so good, and they were so motivated. And pretty much at this point, all my mates I was snowing with had all like found other things either in the resort or moved on to other stuff. So my head just went. Confidence was at an all-time low because of the injuries, and I felt a bit lost. So I then reached out to Vans when I got back. I was like, why don't you make me the snow TM, and I'll get everything back in shape for you and all that. And they were like, yeah, cool, no problem. Or not cool, no problem. They're like, yeah, perfect. But again, that even in itself is not a full-time gig. That's really only like a half-a-year gig, and it pays only half a year. So I would work in the TSA snowboard shop in Milton Keynes, who were also my board sponsor, and part of that deal is you get a job back there kind of any time you're not snowboarding, which is cool.
That's quite good.
And then just make myself available to do Vans trips and go on shooting trips with the kids and build them up. And I was kind of still riding at the time, but I was just like falling out of love with it basically. So yeah, doing more on the TM side, and then I decided that I was going to import some brands from the US, like glove brand. Who else did I have? Some other like Banshee Bungee. Do you remember those things? Like you'd see them in skate videos. They'd link
the pull things.
Yeah. So they were made for like street snowboarding.
I think they've stopped making those now, haven't they? Because they like whip back and they've hit people and
you get tangled up in them when they're going that fast. It's awful.
Big resistance bands, basically.
Yeah. But with like a Wartski handle, and you get speed into spots. But when they work brilliantly. But so I was just scrambling to find some things because I'm always out on the road visiting shops and with the indoor scenes. So I was like, I'll take some brands with me and try and sell them in. So that was that like short-lived pro. So I mean, it wasn't short-lived. It was pretty long, but that's how it kind of went up and down, really because of injury. And yeah, it's you read and hear about some people overcome the injuries and get back onto it, but my head completely went after the second one, and that was it.
Yeah. Mine would go after the first one.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that was going to be the case.
That deep, yeah.
But I was so fired up and hungry for it then. I was so dedicated to get back to it and like smashing the gym, and I was super into playing guitar at the time, and that was like keeping me like busy and fired up. So it was sort of okay to get through that first one, but yeah, the second it was more affecting like your mental confidence basically. So.
Hold on a second, we need to talk about sponsoring this episode of the Brain Train Show. Toby, take it away.
Today's sponsor is Slappy Trucks.
Slappy Trucks comes from the mind of Mike Sinclair and was created through the lockdown. He was messing around with his trucks and he thought, hold on, I might just have a way to make them a little bit better.
Slappy Trucks provide the best grind clearance and slappy angle to keep your kingpins from the dreaded snag on Smiths, Feebles, Hurricanes, Bennett and Barley grinds, and has been measured by Professor Paul Schmidt. Slappy Trucks have the quickest turn, the best grind clearance, less wheel bite, no braking time, and are 100% more fun. I'm currently riding the inverted Kingpin Hollow ones, and they're very nice, and I'm getting on great with them. They are sick.
Slappy Trucks also have an incredibly large team, and some of our favourites are Mike Fraser, Leonardo Finkus, Abe Bethel, the Curb Killer Ira, and Arissa True.
They're also sorting out Will Sayer, Ben Plum, Liddy Strachan, Twiggy, Manny Haddon. Where can people find out about Slappy Trucks, Forde?
They can find them at Slappy Trucks on Instagram or www.slappytrucks.com, or simply head to Roller Snakes and just search Slappy Trucks and see how many we have in stock. Toby?
Back to the show.
Back to the show right now.
Back to the show.
Back to the show.
Back to
now.
the show. Transitioning from pro snowboarder being on the Vans team to being the Vans TM for snowboarding.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
how did that all
Evolve.
Yeah, so then I think I said before
There's a dog on the set. We've got a dog on the set.
There's always a dog on the set. Come on.
we've got a pair of nuts on the set
It's a
attached
big-
to a dog.
A four-legged pair of nuts.
Ah.
He's got some screen time now.
Go on.
Go on, off you go.
He's a good boy.
Yeah, so through just being always, around at Vans and doing anything.
Being eager.
Being willing,
anything,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd helped put the last few guys on the team, and we didn't have a TM at the time, so they were like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Let's do it. And yeah, it's only a half a year gig really.
Yeah.
And while I was doing that, I should have said before, I did some extra work. So I was in the Pirates of the Carribean movie as a background pirate.
Fucking yes.
Oh,
Alright, come on
amazing.
in. Right.
Search it on IMDb,
Right, here we go.
please.
This is what we're here for.
IMDb.
I don't know.
So
how
you're an
you'll find
extra
it.
in Pirates of the Caribbean.
On Stranger Tides, it's called. So I believe that's the fourth one.
Oh, that's the best one.
I don't think you can't even see me. I was 2 weeks solid work. You can't even see me.
Where was that filmed?
Greenwich Naval College. Yeah, it's the scene where he breaks out of the courtroom, and then he's like, there's a chase scene through a street, and he's hopping from horse and carriage. So they basically went up and down that street, 10 times, and filmed that whole scene from there.
Yeah.
What was your outfit?
I'll send you the pictures afterwards. You can drop them in. But we would have to get there sort of 5:30, 6 in the morning for makeup and costume.
Yeah.
And it was in October. Yeah, so it was around this time of year. It was fucking cold. So you were in these rag clothes.
Yeah.
And you're just freezing. Luckily, my character had this little satchel, so I had my iPod in there. So when you're sitting around in between takes, listening to tunes. But so some of my guys had the treble cone hats on. Some of my mates, sorry, they looked the full part, and you can fully see them in the movie and in all the scenes. So then I was like, oh, hang on a minute, maybe I've got a bit more of a gig doing this going on, and so I registered properly with the agency, and then hello nuts. And nothing came for a while. Then I was on a trip in Austria, and they called me. Were like, "Hey, we need you in England on these dates for the new Bond movie. Can you do it?" I'm like, "No, I'm on a trip. Then I can't." And they're like, "Really? Because no, another one of our mates did it, and he ended up then being not stunt double. It's like a camera. They basically use a person for when they're setting up the shot. So they use someone who looks like the actor just to set the lighting up, and then he goes, and then they bring in the real one. So a guy I did Pirates of the Caribbean with took that Bond gig that I turned out, and then became Sean Bean stand-in for loads of stuff. And I was like, and I never got any calls back after that for anything else. And I set up with all these casting agencies and that, and I really thought I might have a bit more.
How much was the pay on Pirates of the Caribbean?
So that was nearly $3,000 for 2 weeks work.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah, right before the winter as well. So that's set up perfectly.
Yeah.
Long
days, though, right?
Long days, yes. 5:30, 6 in the morning till 7 at night.
Just sitting around waiting for it to be action. What did you what was your acting in that?
I didn't. I just walked up the street.
Right, okay.
Dodged in and out of people. You just move about. It's
so can
weird.
you be seen in?
No.
Oh, fuck's sake.
But when
They cut all your parts.
Yeah, when I
They're
send you the picture of how I
that
look.
pirate's got a fucking iPod on.
Yeah,
when you see the background of films, it's
they
someone
put
points
those
it out.
things
And
in
it's
on purpose, don't they? Yeah, the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But no, you can't even see me at all. I could roughly point out where I was, but
Are you credited?
nope. The
Fuck's
casting agency's credited.
All right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then if you want to dig deeper, you could then go on to the casting agency and say, hey, who did you use for that scene? And no one's going to do that.
Yeah.
Probably throwing the bits of paper away with everyone's names on. But But that was cool, and there was 5 snowboarders all working on this thing at the same time, and it's literally like extras to show. You meet these people who are like taking it super seriously, trying to get their like next big gig and acting and the stepping stone, and we're just like, oh, we just got spotted because we've all got long hair, and we all got a gig out of it. It's brilliant. Obviously Johnny Depp was on those scenes, and you're not allowed to talk to him. You're like really strict. You do not talk to any actors. You do not approach them. If they approach or talk to you, then you can speak back. You're like, all right, I'm not some crazy fan. Like, just want to see it with my medieval iPod on.
So this is outside of filming. Like if you're sat there and Johnny Depp walks past, you can't be like, hey Johnny,
you want to start a band with me? Yeah, no dice. They'll throw you out.
That's whack.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Kind of makes sense though.
If that was the case, nothing would ever get done because you got 400 extras, all wanting to get a piece of Johnny Depp. So,
So you're doing that in between Vans TMing.
Yep, and then So I think I kind of alluded before that. When I was out and about doing the Vans TM stuff, I imported some brands from the US. Grenade gloves, and then the bungee thing. Started selling to some shops, and then at that time, Vans were like, "Oh, you're kind of taking these next steps in the industry seriously. It's good to see. Listen, we've got a potential opportunity for you up in Manchester on a maternity cover on a sales role. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Absolutely, let's do it." So, I then straight up just moved to Manchester. I'd been there once for a house party, didn't really know what I was walking into, and then just finished a trip, then drove up there, started this job, and was like, okay, I knew it was going to be for at least 12 or 14 months. I was like, find somewhere to start a whole new life up there, which I did, which is just fantastic. I love Manchester. That's where I still live. It's the best place ever, like outside of being in the mountains, for example. And then I was doing that sales role at Vans, really enjoying it, learning a lot. I was really like thrown in the deep end. It was obviously a big change from being a snowboarder and TMing and it's just selling small brands. And then sort of 7 months into that role, out of nowhere, somebody from Adidas had approached me and said, we've got this, we're taking snowboarding seriously. We've obviously done the skateboard. We're doing this action sports sales role. We've heard that you could be the guy for it. Would you like to come in and
headhunted?
And I was like, at the time, I honestly was like, nah. I've been with Vans forever. I was like, cut me open, I bleed checkerboard type mentality and stuff. And and I said, listen, I don't know if you're taking the snowboarding thing seriously, because Nike had just pulled out of snowboarding at that time, and I was a bit dubious. Anyway, I went in and I was completely blown away with the setup that they had there, the plans in place for snowboarding, and already was aware of what they were doing in skateboarding. And was like, I interviewed and gave it my all, and got offered the gig, and was going to turn it down, but Vans were like, well, we can't keep you on after the 14 months paternity because that person legally has to come back. There's no guarantee. So I was like, okay, then I have kind of no choice but to switch to Addy, and best thing I ever did.
So what year was that?
2015.
Right, so you've been there a while then, haven't you?
Yeah, 10 years this year.
How many years had you been at Vans at that point?
At that point,
in your role, not as a rider.
In that role, that sales were only 7 months. But as a rider and TM and all that stuff in between, 10 years.
Yeah, long time.
So you went in Addy for snowboarding. That was the
snowboarding and skateboarding. So the sales role at the time was action sports, like sales manager basically. So it was selling to all of the skate accounts, and all of the snowboard accounts, or the snowboard accounts that they wanted to get. They hadn't gone into that world at that point.
And I guess you knew
they needed somebody
already.
who knew both.
Yeah.
Which there's a lot of people in skateboarding that are just 100% skate, and that's all good. It's quite rare you get people that are both. So.
So you were perfect for it, basically. You knew the stores.
Yeah, and I just steamed straight in and built the snowboarding program up really quickly, and then just took over skate the best I can, and obviously been working on skate ever since then, and it's been great. But unfortunately, in 2020 they closed the snowboarding program down, which was really gutting because it was brilliant, phenomenal product. Brilliant marketing, great team. It's had everything going for it. But restructures and things happen, and sometimes things get cut. It was completely out of my hands, obviously. So that was the end of Addy Snow in 2020. Gutted. But skateboarding obviously is remain strong and a big focus for the brand, and it's awesome. I love being a part of it and working on it and selling it. It's great, really great.
So what is your actual job role at Adidas?
Account manager. So it basically means sales manager. Yeah.
Did you say Adidas or Adidas?
Adidas.
Yeah.
But
Does everyone else there say Adidas?
No, they say Adidas because the brand is started by Adolf Dassler, and to abbreviate Adidas. So it doesn't make sense to say Adidas. I think it's just how in the US
it's how the Americans say
that's
it.
how they pronounce it, right?
But then,
RUN DMC,
but then you say Nike as well instead of Nike.
Yeah, I never really got that one.
Apparently, the CEO of Nike or something like that came out and said it's actually pronounced Nike.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From being in the industry, and more so since 2020, the skateboard industry, what's your opinion on the industry at the minute and how things are? Not necessarily with Addy, but as a whole.
As a whole.
What have you seen, and how it's changed? And
I mean, it's just constantly changing, right?
Yeah.
It just, the if you're just talking specifically about the skate shops and that are thriving or not thriving, it seems to be that you have to be pretty elastic and willing to evolve, right, in order to survive the ever-changing skate industry. So there are accounts that do that brilliantly, or skate shops that do that really well, whether they're online only or have stores. Like, they all adapt, and there's some that are old school in their ways of, and they still think that they can sell like it is in the 90s and stuff, and it's quite cool that that exists. But when they go under and they start pointing fingers at brands and movements within skateboarding, you're like, come on, you just needed to evolve with the times, basically. And so that tends to be like the main thing in terms of like skate shops closing and this and that. But the popularity of skateboarding seems to be still at an all-time high, and people getting into it and everything. So
I think there's more skateboarders now than there's ever been.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's also more shops now than there's ever been. I don't know.
Definitely more brands than there's ever been.
Oh yeah, I mean,
every
fucking
week
hell.
there's a new
But
brand.
then, like, oh god, I must sound like such an arsehole, but like,
Go and get comfortable.
What counts as a brand? Because anybody can go and get a run of boards done.
Yeah.
And they don't even have to hit minimums of 50 like it was 10 years ago.
No.
You can just go and get 10 boards done. That's not a brand.
No.
But what's the definition of a skate brand? I don't really know. It's kind of like,
I mean, I guess it is that, right? But nobody really perceives them as a skate brand until they've got a bit of a following and ultimately a team, right? That's like the main thing. You got to have a team, So, but to get a team, you need money to pay people and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know what counts as a skate brand anymore.
I think smaller things like what you're maybe thinking about, it's better to kind of list it as like a crew. So that's quite like over the years myself, I've made like thousands of t-shirts. Then I did the runner boards, like the Avi boards and stuff like that. And I've done little things in between, but I wouldn't necessarily say what I'm doing is a brand.
Yeah, see, that to me is a crew. Like
that is a crew.
And that's cool. I like that. Then rather than you saying, we started a skateboard company.
So I get emailed
company,
every week by somebody. Oh, I'm starting up this brand. It's called, I don't know, Big Dick Skateboards or whatever. And
is that your own brand? Named after your own big dick?
No, because it would be Average Dick Skateboards.
Oh, what? Average dick, big balls skateboards.
No,
that's what you said.
Average Dick,
it
tiny
could work.
balls.
It could work. Do you remember Fat Willie's?
Yeah.
I mean, I see that sticker on everyone's car, even
still
today.
about,
I'm doing a rip-off graphic of that.
I get a lot of emails from people like, oh yeah, I'm starting this brand. Do you want to buy it? And it's like, no, like, sorry, I don't.
think,
just no.
I think, like you said, it needs a bit of a following behind it.
Yeah.
At least it does, because otherwise you blind into it blind, and who's it appealing to?
But also, these things get started with absolutely no one sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they grow a following.
Before we move on from Adidas talk, because I really want to talk to you about shred sleds. There's been a lot of like marketing and sort of like grassroots events Adidas have been doing, which is really good because I see a lot of brands don't do anything like that.
Yeah.
But what's been like, we did the picnic bench one here, and that was at Slam as well. And where else did it go? 3,
Note.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Manchester. Big up Note. That is a really sort of vital, important thing for a brand, I think, especially nowadays to do.
Yep.
But where am I going with this question? Is what's been the funnest part of being involved in that? Because you were obviously like, our point of call on that, getting it organised and stuff.
Yeah.
And what you did, that one that you went to?
The event in Manchester was really good. Yeah,
Yeah, the
that
plaza,
was good.
Build Plaza. Yeah.
Is that still there?
I don't know. Is that still there? That layout?
Yeah. So the smaller features got moved to Gooseside as
Yeah.
originally planned, and then that concrete Pier 7 bit and the curved ledge was due to be knocked down afterwards. And I think after the positive impact that it had and everything went really well over those 10 days, the Aviva Studios people were like, you know, let's look at actually how we can keep this concrete bit here, because it's clearly been such a success with the skate community. It's really brought in a nice crowd and everyone's enjoying it. So it's stayed.
We've said it on episodes previously about Adidas. I feel like it's always been a bit more of like a solid, fun footwear brand that's always done collaborations and events. You don't really see it with other footwear things. Obviously, Adidas has got the money to do it, but you don't really see like Nike doing this event, or maybe they do and I just don't see it. But Adidas as a footwear brand, I've always followed it more because it seems like a more family-friendly kind of footwear.
More in touch with grassroots.
That's it. That's where I'm getting at. So Adidas seem to be a bit more focused on that kind of thing, which is great.
They seem to have always stuck to that. And maybe since the Guns got on it, skateboarding-wise, it always seems to have had a good impact in skating.
It must be really fun to be involved with a brand that understands the importance of that grassroots events and giving back.
100%.
I know,
and they really do.
Yeah,
they really do. And
I mean, just the costings to make those benches and all that, it must cost a fortune, and then get the riders over. So this is the thing people don't understand: the costs involved with getting riders over, putting them up in hotels, food, travel. Ubers, having to buy them skateboards because they forget to bring their skateboards and all that kind of shit. Like that is enormous. You don't sort of see that.
I was just really hyped at the event in Manchester to finally meet Gabbers, because I spoke to Gabbers for a while and he was like, "Are you at this event?" And I was fucking like, "Yes, Gabbers, like you're the best."
Yeah,
and he's so sick. Like I said, I told you, didn't I? I was like, "Oh, I'll land this trick and I'll move to Oz and dedicate myself as your filmer." And he was like, "You don't want to do that with me, mate. It'll be fucking terrible."
Have you seen?
Because he battles, doesn't he? Like,
I watched the rough cut last night. Actually.
Yeah, I watched it the weekend. Holy shit! Every single attempt at everything he does, he's going to war.
That heel flip crook when he just drops down the massive set of stairs first, and he's like, "Look, like he's amazing."
That was the bit, because I watched that bit over and over, and I was like, that stair set. As a kid skating in Milton Keynes, I would have had to have worked up for months to set ollie, just the stairs that he dropped down.
And he just drops down it like for setup.
And it's so interesting as well, because in the nicest way, he looks like someone that wouldn't be on Adidas. Yeah. Like with his like demeanor and who he is.
Yeah.
But then when I see him in like the track tops and the shoes, and I'm like, I fucked with it more, because I was like, you're kind of a bit of a fucking goth a little bit. He's got like his dystopia t-shirts on and shit, and then. But he's like such a burly bloke as well. But he was sick at that event. Everyone was that I spoke to there.
They brought over I wouldn't say the right people from the team, but a really good mix from the team and put down that.
See, the team is pretty diverse. You've got people from all kinds of avenues and aspects of skating from all over the world. It's pretty stacked, isn't it? Like,
and the people that we have in the skate business unit of Adidas, you know, they all come from skateboarding. You know, Paul Shire is the go-to. I mean, you couldn't get a more perfect person than that, and that's why it's so good, because they have the right people working it that really care about it.
And that stems back to them understanding the need to have people involved in that industry to make it work. Because if you don't do that, you fuck it straight away at the first hurdle. So big up Adidas for that. Thank you for all the free gear all the time. Before we talk about shred sleds, can we talk about music?
Yeah.
And you play guitar.
Yes.
You're in a band.
Was in a band.
Well, fuck. Was in a band.
Yeah,
Sack the researcher.
Since my second kid was born, I didn't have time for it anymore, and we sort of had a bit of a fallout. So we just, I wouldn't even say
should
we
we
put
not
it on
talk
ice.
about the band?
Of course we can. We've done some mad shit with it, basically.
You supported Run DMC.
Supported Run DMC.
Tell us about that.
So we were just like playing little pubs and dive bars and stuff just for fun.
Yeah.
My housemate at the time is a musician. He's in like loads of other bands and got solo things going on. He's super into it and an amazing musician. He was like, dude, we should do a bit of a band skate. He's like, you know, I was like, no way, I can't play in front of people and I can't do solos and stuff. He's like, yes, you can. Believe me, you can. And I was like, wow, if he's telling me I can, then maybe I can knuckle down and get good. So we started rehearsing with some other people, like, let's play some bars, and we went over to like Austria and played in like the ski resorts where I used to live and reside, and that went down really well. And then my boss at Adidas in Europe at the time heard that the 70th anniversary event was coming up at the head office in Germany, and that they were basically turning the campus into a festival for the day and having bands on, and Stormzy was headlining, all this type of stuff. So he was like, oh, he knew the guy who was organising it internally, and said, one of the guys who works for us in England's in this band, they're pretty cool, you should get them over to play, it'll be funny to say we have an employee band. And sure enough, the guy was like, yeah, what's his email or work number, I'll give him a call. And he was like, yeah, do you want to come over and play? He's like, I think it's looking like it's going to be Stormzy headlining. And I'm like, I've heard of him. And I was like, oh, this could be pretty big time. And then, so I call the guys, they lose their shit. And we played in like maybe 4 bars in total at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, they book all our stuff, fly us all over. And just before when we make the final arrangements, they go, oh, by the way, it's not Stormzy headlining anymore. He's dropped out. I'm like, whew, like, it's Run DMC. Like,
oh shit.
I've definitely heard of them. And then, when we get there, we're like treated like a real band. And we had this little area backstage, which is funny enough, just some meeting rooms. Like when I've been back years later, I was like, oh, I had like full buffet here waiting for me, and like champagne and stuff. And yeah, drinks and all that. And then Run DMC were in like a little room, well, not a little room, another sort of meeting room next to us. That was their dressing room. And when we came off playing, that they were coming in and they're like, hey guys, and had photos with us, and yeah, it was pretty surreal. So, and we played in the afternoon. So I say we supported Run DMC. There was one other person in between us, a kind of like French hip hop act, I think. And we played half an hour of rock covers. Yeah. So the sound was projected across the whole campus to 3,000 people, but actually in front of us at 5 in the afternoon at that time was about 50 people, which was still felt amazing. A huge stage.
Yeah.
And I think we started off with Even Flow by Pearl Jam, then we went into Crazy Train, some Foo Fighters in there, Bon Jovi was there. I mean,
did you whack your top off and go crazy?
No, I haven't got the bod for it. I wanted to. I just had like a Hawaiian shirt on, but before...
Nice, even better.
Before we went out, there was like a hair and makeup bit, and my best mate, who was the bass player, decided to just get like this white strip across his eyes. He was wearing it with an Adidas baseball jersey. As we were walking out, the CEO was giving a speech to the whole company at the time. Guest on stage was Pharrell, so they're giving this speech, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't do this. We cannot go out there, and I can't do this. And everyone's like, no, it'll be fine. And as they finish the speech, people just start leaving to go to other things. You know, they had bars and Ferris wheels and that. And then Pharrell walks back into the building, walks past my mate, takes one look at him with his foot and just goes, and then like walks on in, and we start laughing. And then we go out, do our thing. We made one major cock up on Ace of Spades where we went completely out of time but managed to recover. But everything else was reasonably flawless. And the performance is on YouTube, actually. You can see it.
We need to find that and
you'll have to send it to us.
I'll send it to you. And then, it's just half an hour of that. And then, proceeded to get absolutely shit-faced afterwards. And random people coming up to us that I didn't know from anywhere, like, hey, you were the guys who just played. It was really good. I can't believe you did some Pearl Jam. That took me right back. And wow, for doing Aussie. And so, it was really nice. And then... after that, we decided to turn the band into an Aussie tribute band. Our singer, she was really good at doing Aussie and Sabbath stuff. Her voice, she could lock into it really well. And we were like, well, what a cool, unique edge to have a female Ozzy Osbourne tribute. So back to it, knuckling down, learning all Sabbath, all Aussie songs. And then we did this massive gig in Milton Keynes on Halloween where we did the full hour and a half Aussie Sabbath set. It was brilliant. And then... 2 months later, we had a bit of a falling out, and it was done. We never got to take the Aussie thing further.
That's a shame.
It's awesome. I mean, like, I'm an 80s metal guy through and through. That is just me. So it's a bit like a dream come true. But being in a band's difficult. You got 3 other people that have other things going on in their lives, trying to
hard to get everyone together at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially then. We had the chance to like make some good money, and like we were booked to do a wedding.
Nice.
Shortly after that Aussie thing, and it was like good few £1,000. We're like, we may as well just do it and like take the money and run. It's all the same songs. And a week before, I came down with this weird condition from stress. I lost all movement and feeling in my hands and wrists. I couldn't hold a guitar. I couldn't pick up that. I'd have to like go out to have a drink. It was so super weird. I was in like went to all these different doctors and hospitals all in a day. Like they were all freaking out, and basically
Was it
put down
trapped
to
nerves
stress.
or something?
No, they said it will probably. They were like, so you need to start taking it easy. It will probably subside in about 3 weeks.
And it did.
Well, a week later, my son was born, and then I moved house on the same day.
So-
I was like, work. Just
Yeah.
had to. It just sort of went away. It was weird, but.
So talking about
Yeah.
being too busy for
Yeah.
the band
So yeah,
and stuff
I
like
couldn't
that.
play the wedding because they did it without me. I don't think it went well, and then the whole thing went tits up after that. It's a shame because it was brilliant, and we were getting asked to play all kinds of like weird festivals and action sports related events going on.
Yeah,
It was a really good thing to be a part of, to bring music to it. But yeah, I haven't really played the guitar since then. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah. I think I've played a total of an hour since then because.
Well, today's your lucky day. Fraser, will you bring out the guitar? Imagine. There's probably one in the building somewhere. Isn't
Let's kickstart up like a thrash punk band. I'm
down.
more than keen
there? You
for
play
that.
drums, didn't you?
I'd do a little bit of everything. Just a little bit.
God, he'd just be
But,
But
um,
the last
you and him.
the shop day.
Yeah.
Tim was like, bring your guitar and amps. He's like, we'll set up a drum kit on the
Tim
mini amp and
plays.
we'll just get everyone jamming.
Yeah.
And I was like, I
You
think
would
I just
see
forgot, but
Tim in his element.
He loves it.
He would lose his shit.
At his birthday party.
He'd just be
yeah,
there
well, we
like,
had an Adidas sales event that Tim was obviously invited to, and the entertainment at the end of the day was this thing called Famous First Words.
Yeah.
It's like a new evolved karaoke X Factor type concept. These guys, Tim and Gen, that do it phenomenal. Tim chooses Welcome to the Jungle. You know, and then there's
was that the one in London?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was there
A
for
couple
that,
hundred
yeah.
people. Yeah, you were.
And he took his shirt
Took
off
his
and just
shirt
went
off.
fucking mental.
Phenomenal. And like the next day, I had to like report into the senior people at Addy, just quick overview how it was. I just sent them that picture, and I'd like shot underneath fisheye, and he just on one leg is. We can also insert that picture on here.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
need
that-
to put it right here.
It will be.
Yeah.
There you go.
How was it? How was after? Because I sent you some of the footage that I filmed for the Manchester event.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How was that perceived as well by the higher
Amazing,
up? You make
amazing.
like an edit of it, and
Yeah, so we have like an internal Facebook kind of thing where everyone just posts sort of what work or special projects they've been up to, and I just made like like an iPhone edit to go on there, and
Yeah.
I edited it like a 411. I'm like obsessed with 411.
It will come
Upset-
round
upset
to that.
with it,
Yeah,
yeah. And yeah, just the sort of 10 people within the company or whatever it is that work on skateboarding will like hit the like button, and that it didn't really go further. But the marketing team that looked after that event and put all that on, I mean, they received massive praise for it, and rightly so. It was perfect. It was flawless, I'd say.
Yeah.
yeah, like 3 or 4 times that I was filming at that event in Manchester, I was stood there. Chat walks right in my way with his fucking phone, and I just kept going.
Phone rules. I know. Sorry, mate.
With his
Absolute-
little clip-on fisheye lens and his selfie.
Screw on. But yeah, I love my
Screw
iPhone
on.
filming accessories. I just
Yeah.
think it's the
I'm with
best.
you on that. I quite enjoy.
I think I'm getting to that phase
It's
now.
so fun having like I've got the small rig cage for my phone.
Oh yeah.
And then I bought a tiny little thread adapter, so I've got this fisheye, not the one you've got the Moment one, haven't you?
Yeah.
This is some other brand that
Yours
I got
is
off
8
eBay.
mil
And it's got you
for
screw that
really
on, so
cheap
it
as well, and
screws
it's
straight
really
on,
good.
And it's
I know the one you mean, yeah.
fucking good.
It's great.
And when it's nice and bright and you can lock the focus properly,
Yeah.
like you get some good results out of that.
I
And
know.
what always blows my mind is that 20 years ago, the fact that you can film, edit, and
All in your
distribute
pocket. Yeah.
all on your phone
Yeah.
with a fisheye lens and not a fisheye lens. It just blows my fucking mind every
Yep.
time. It's like some
Technology is getting better. I think
I'm
It
with you on
saved
that.
skating in our 20s for like me and my
Yeah.
mates because we go out for a roll and everyone would just kind of realise how crap they are and how much their back hurts. And I'd be like, well, I was like, hey, just do something on this rail or this little thing, and I'll like lay on the floor and I'll give it all this, and then I'll be like, check that, and they're like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's sick. I'm like, yeah, and the next thing is someone's like, let me try, and then we're having a full sesh purely because of the filming.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And I'm like, and it sparked everyone up. So now whenever we just go for a little skate, make sure I've got all the kit with me. And if
What,
if,
so
if
what
we're
is your
bored,
kit now? What is it?
hot shot handle,
Yeah.
which I don't think you can get anymore.
No, that was who? It was.
Like, Garrett Hill.
Garrett Hill,
No,
wasn't it?
somebody like that.
Well,
I knew
say-
they were on Zero, but I can't remember who.
I think it was Garrett Hill.
It was like a Kickstarter thing, wasn't it? I bought loads when it first came about. So I was like,
the
wanted something
Kickstarter
like
one.
this for ages, and then just a Moment 14 fisheye lens. I got 2 of those because they obviously break and go missing, but you can only buy them in the US. So I tend to buy like 2 at a time with shipping, and that's literally it. And then the moment case, there you go. There's the
See, I doctored my hotshot handle, and I put a battery underneath the handle.
Nice.
And then you can have the cable round.
So I've got the light that screws in underneath the phone, which is.
I wonder
nice
if
touch.
there's.
Got it all, haven't they?
I wonder if because your phone set up with the case and the fisheye, you know, when we did that how to film skateboarding, that kind of sold it to me that like that looked amazing. I wonder if there's anyone that's made like a little adapter for the fisheye so it sits a little bit further away.
I spoke
you
to
know, so you get some natural vig on it. Because if you could get that, I'd be more than down to like.
Do you want that though?
Well, so you get more fisheye depth.
Yeah, but
so I spoke to
this
the
way.
guys.
Try those moment lenses. You get more than enough with those.
No, we always want
At
more.
moment.com.
We always want more.
No, I'm
we
not
want more
endorsed by
wideness.
them.
So the little screw-on adapters, I spoke to the guy who made them, and I asked him, "Could you do me a spacer ring?" And he
Like something that's like.
and he was like, "No, don't want to get involved in that." I was like, "It's a shame because if you just did 2 or 3 mil,
If you did something like that and you had a little bit of vig in the corners,
and then you locked the focus,
it'd be amazing.
you're very involved with Adidas. But how do you balance that coming from a parent as well?
Yeah.
You've got 2 young kids, right?
Yep.
How do you get that work-life balance? Because it looks like you're always
doing something busy. Or is that just the perception of the online world?
Yeah, I mean, okay, then I won't post anything for like a week or 2 weeks on the story. I guess would be it. I mean, I've had this like forever. Alvin from Attitude Inc. calls me Judith Chalmers because whenever he's trying to get hold of me, he's like, "You're always away." And like back then, when I had Addy Snowboarding, we were away snowboarding a lot with that. And then we go to Addy Skate Sales Summit. So within the job anyway, you're traveling a lot because we're working like a European team with all the skate guys, right? So we are moving around with that. But in terms of like with work-life balance and the kids, I don't know. We just do stuff. Whatever
Just
we do, we
go with it.
We always said we're not going to let them sort of dictate what we do or stop them from doing what we like to do. So they're just always with us, and whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I was just on holiday recently. That's a bad example, being topless by a pool. But
No, he's always topless by a pool in the sun. I see it every time I go on Instagram. I'm like,
I can't be. I
"Fucking
live
hell,
in Manchester. There is no sun.
I'm like, where's he at now? What's he doing?
But that's just because I don't post anything for ages, and then when I do, you just happen to see it. That's all that is.
Do you want to go into?
I want to go into that, but I just want to drop a couple of, because I did a bit of research on this. So I think I looked at one today and you had like a guest trick in it, but you've had a video part or 2 as well.
And so for snowboarding.
So the names I've got is Hunger Pains Optium video. Is that one of them?
OTM, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Grindhouse's Scare Money. But
I had 2 tricks in that.
2 tricks in the Will Smith.
Yeah.
Not the Will Smith, but the Will
Yeah,
Smith.
the snowboarding Will
And
Smith.
TSA's video, it's like an hour 11 minutes. It's like Terminal.
Ferocity, yeah. So I did like 2 tricks in that, but I was in like, so there was like another video production company called Hunger Pain, which is.
What's your most full video parts? I tried to find the Hunger
It's
Pain
in a
one.
movie called Bread and Butter.
Okay,
which
can
was
you send
for
me a
White
link to
Lines.
it
Yeah,
so
I'll
I
send
can
you
at
a
least,
link,
yeah.
That was full part in that, and that year we were filming that. We lived in Lake Tahoe, in California, which is just the best place on earth. Like I have to live there at some point in the future because it's just the best. So
what goes into filming snowboarding video parts? And when you go to the street, do you ever go to somewhere where you're like, I'd like to get a trick on this, but it's not covered with enough snow, and then you have to make it like because we just go to a spot and if it's wet, it's done. But if you want to go to a spot and you need to build something, like and what's legit and what's not legit in snowboarding?
Definitely not 16 stair rails anymore. That's not legit. But so good question. So back in the day, when we were like 16 in Milton Keynes, we had a little snowboard crew. We called ourselves the ATV crew, which name makes no sense because we're an indoor snowboarding crew. But we're all pretty good at rails, and we were like, how are we gonna? We were making our own little videos, like filming in there and stuff. Like, what can we do to like stand out? What can we do to like get ourselves out there in the mags and in the scene? And we're like, I know. Why don't we take all the snow out the indoor, load it into a van, take it to a rail around Milton Keynes or a skate spot?
How do you stop it from melting? You just got to be quick.
You get like a couple of hours basically before it goes. So we would do it in the summer sometimes, or like in winter or spring. So we would do that. We would get a van, fill it full of, like the snow dome would be willing to just open up the shutters, shovel out all the old snow because they have to get rid of it every now and then. And we'd just time it when they're chucking it out, put it in a van and drive to a rail around Milton Keynes that we'd found. Some either with like a natural run in, or we'd have to build our own. And literally you would have a thin trail of snow,
Yeah.
kick it to the rail, nothing, and then like a patch to land on. And again,
Yeah,
I
I've
can
seen stuff like
show
that.
you
Yeah.
some clips. My sponsor me video from when I was 16 is just filled with Milton Keynes skate spots with patches of snow around them. And that was what it was.
So
That-
you'd probably gone to spots to do that, and someone had gone to skate it after you'd finished and been like,
how
"Why the
is there
fuck's
snow
the roll
in the
up?"
middle of
Like,
July?
Yeah.
We freaked a lot of people out, and because it, you get skateboarders get kicked out of spots, and that didn't happen with that because it was so bizarre.
Yeah.
People were like, well, if they're putting snow down, they're not like
Amateurs.
they're not amateurs, or they're not wrecking it, or they're not just skaters fucking about. So we would get away with it, and again, I'll send you some clips of where we were snowboarding on the ledges around the theatre district, Milton Keynes, the marble ones, and then later that day, anyone would have been skating them. It's mad.
Yeah.
But that's what we did in
Rigging
order
spots up.
to get out there. Yeah, so
It's kind of DIY,
the
isn't it?
guys
It's
from Ride in the S were like, that's some like next level shit at the time. Like get hit on.
dedication.
Yeah, and
So did people take notice of you guys because you were doing that?
yeah.
'Cause
That's
no one
we had
else
so
was?
much coverage in the mags. We'd always
Yeah.
have a photographer in tow and stuff, and all the pictures would always get published. It was great.
Mhm.
So that's how we got out there and like known as like the rail guys. And then
Yeah, because
when it
there's a
was-
website with it's like a video review, and it says Chris Chatt, the rail guy, or something. I might have been on that White Lines, or someone reviewed it on their own website. And I tried to
pretty much
actually-
just only
yeah.
liked rails. And then
Yeah.
I like being in the mountains and just snowboarding all around and just
Mhm.
piece bashing and jumping about. But you can't really film video. part of
Piece
that.
bashing.
Just riding the piece and just airing
Oh,
up the side.
piece bashing.
Yeah.
I did wonder when I looked at some snowboarding videos in the past, when you've got sections where it is on like a purpose-built snow half pipe, is
Yeah.
that conceived as like if you filmed a trick at a skate park and it
Yeah,
was in
a
your
bit.
park, you're like,
Well-
oh, you can probably do that quite easy. But if you're going
Yes
down a
and no,
rail,
Yeah.
What was the biggest rail done in Milton Keynes with your artificial snow setup?
It was a double kink behind. Oh well, no, actually, well, I don't know. There's been a few different people that have tried it afterwards as well. I know the biggest one I did was a double kink, which was 8, about a 3-meter flat, then another 8 behind the train station, a single bar.
That nobody's skated. Just
No. The floor was too rough. I mean, it was
Right.
like one of those ones where the kink just kept going all the way up to the Redway, and we were like, well, we can use these 2 sets to drop in on, and then 50-50 the last bit.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest one in MK I did. Most of them were kind of like, like 10 to 15 stairs. Nothing too crazy
Yeah.
because you needed a lot of speed. And once you get that snow out, it slows down a lot. So it's quite difficult. But yeah, since then, I don't know if other people have gone back and done bigger ones, but not massive. Not massive.
Mm.
But yeah, I'll send you the clips and you see it, you'll be like, gee.
I definitely want to check them out.
It was so much effort. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we'd all be there, and we always had this one mate who just constantly fuck about and was not helpful. And I used to get super stressed because I was so like motivated and in the zone to get clear, and everyone would then someone would just tag along and be like, yeah, it was so stressful, but it's just what you did to
get the coverage.
Get the coverage,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah. And obviously you do it and you look back on it and you go, that was pretty fun, or that was pretty cool. But
Yeah, especially if all the photos got printed. It's
yeah, and our filmer, who was just our mate at the time, similar age, he was just filming with his little dad's little high 8 cam.
Yeah.
He just filmed the last Star Wars. Like that's projected his like career as a filmer.
Yeah.
From making those little indoor videos with us to UK snowboard videos to European snowboard movies to international videos to adverts, commercials, and then the last Star Wars.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
and
mental.
he's
It's insane.
now.
Who's
Yeah,
that? What's his name?
Tom Elliott. Tom
Tom
Elliott,
Elliott.
DOP, yeah.
Shout
He's
out
the
Tom
best.
Elliott,
Big
DOP.
up Tom Elliott.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Shred Sleds. Tell us all about that
Okay.
and how it started and what's going on with it.
So back in, I want to say, end of 2020, start of 21, when we're technically in those lockdowns, it snowed loads in Manchester. And I had one of these snow skates from Canada that I'd bought years before and just took on trips with me. So I took it up into the hills around Manchester and was just hitting the little Argos like clip rail, and it was just sick. So I took some mates up there. They were like, "This is amazing! This is so much fun! I can't believe it!" And they can barely skate, but they were enjoying this thing. So a good friend of mine that I grew up with in Milton Keynes called me. He was like, "Man, I've seen those clips on Instagram of you on this snow skate thing." He's like, "It's so sick." He's like, "Where'd you get them?" I was like, you have to get them from Canada. They're a nightmare. It's like one company that makes them, and he's like, we should make them. We should do a brand of it. I was like, no, I'm not getting into all that. Like, call me back in the next day. He goes, no, been thinking about it. We should make them. I'm like, no, I can't take on anything right now. And then I started thinking about it and how this little like mini snowboard, snow skate, whatever you want to call it, how my friends took to it, having never really snowboarded, could barely skate, but they would, grown men would run up and down a snowy hill and be like, no, I'm going next, and like just going over a little rail and losing their mind because they were out in the snow, they were doing this thing which is totally new. And I was like, maybe there's something in that actually. So obviously I'm working for Addy and the whole time, and after work when the lockdowns, nothing's going on, I started to just build what a brand might look like around that, and how we could bring it to life and a name and use it as a gateway to get people into snowboarding and on the snow. So we then were like, right, cool, we've got a name, we've got some initial graphics, we need to get the funding. So I put together a pitch and went around to various people in the snowboarding industry and pitched to them to invest in it basically and own a share of it. Then we raised the money, and then the next phase was to get them made. So it's not like a normal skateboard where it's concave and stuff. It's a flat board with the curved nose and tail. It's exactly the same. And then this kind of like UHMWP type of plastic gets laminated to it. So it was actually the guys at Blast Skates when they had their workshop in Bedford, who responded to us. I'm like, we think we can do these. Could you bring one down? So I drove down there, and they're like, yeah, we'll have to make a mold and this and that, but we can do it. It's going to cost X much. So we were like, right. Well, we got the rest of the money raised and then did it. So they started making them, and then it came to the winter, and we'd pre-sold hundreds of these things to like shops in Europe just off a PDF that I made.
Well, shit, maybe I do need to do the Baghead collaboration then.
You do. Yeah. We'll talk about that afterwards. And then when it came to the production ones coming out, and they fell apart, unfortunately.
Oh,
Or
no.
maybe I don't need to do the collaboration.
This is going to literally care. We're gonna go, no. So then we had to then spend the next year trying on different factories and all this kind of stuff, and someone who can make them right. And that took about 1.5 years to get that right for these ones.
Yeah.
But at that same time, we also made another type of snow skate, which is essentially a normal skate deck as the top deck, and then a ski mounted underneath.
I looked at the website, me and Fraser, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Like,
yeah.
And then I watched one of the infomercials about it.
We call them resort raiders. It's still a snow skate, but that's a snow skate, and that that type's supposed to be one. So
I watched the infomercial
not just a normal
about
ski.
it.
So so we had to specially like make a ski that was shaped for these things to work right. And I had friends in France that used them from other brands. They were like, this is how you need to make it. So we also put that out into market, and that worked straight away, like better than we expected. So while we were developing that one, we continued to build the brand around the Resort Raider style, and we sold a lot of those into Europe. But in the second year, to build the brand around that type of snow skate, and approached it like a skate brand, and I did.
Is that plastic on top as well, like that top board, or is that?
That is a top board that is the exact same one.
So I can actually buy a Sleds board. I just need to get one of those and put wheels on it, or can
we sell those separately.
Oh, okay.
Skate decks,
Oh, amazing.
So, but the problem is with those, they're crazy expensive to make, and there was like no margin in it. We have to kind of phase that bit out now, unfortunately. But while that was happening, we started to get a little bit of an identity on how I was kind of like doing the branding and like doing all these sort of like nostalgic like throwbacks on graphics, like any new skate brand does, bootlegs and that kind of thing.
So me and Fraser were saying earlier, like the graphics, like the colorways, like kind of like car colorways, 411 and stuff like that, girl and stuff like that. I was going to ask who like designs the stuff, because the design of it's really good. Like we were on the website for ages earlier, just like vision graphics, like car graphics.
So there's 4 partners in it basically, myself and 3 other guys. And one of them is graphic designer. His name's Neil Bowen. Absolute shout out to Neil Bowen.
Absolute shout out to Neil Bowen.
Skateboarding legend from Milton Keynes back in the
Big up
day.
Neil Bowen.
He's a graphic designer, works for a big agency in London called Zip Design. He was the first person I went to when I was like, I'm going to do this thing, because I wanted him to bring the vision to life graphically. and yeah, he understood the task immediately, and that's been one of the things. Everyone's like, the graphics are just like, they just grab
Graphics
you.
are amazing.
really good.
Well,
And we
they're
love, like, the
they're
whole
like
80s
skateboarding graphics as
Yeah.
well, you know, and that's what I like.
And we love the whole 80s skate thing. Like, he loves thrashing as much as I do, so he was like, let's do some stuff around that. So all while that's kind of building, then the fourth partner comes in who wants to turn it into a snowboard brand. Basically, he's like, I think we've got something here. There's some appetite from the shops that we're already selling to turn it to create snowboards with the same sort of graphical theme and direction going on. So we spent another 2 years kind of planning and getting the right factories in place to make the snowboards. And yeah, that's now like taken over completely. So now it's like a full-blown snowboard brand. We're into year 2.
So with like obviously when you want to make skateboards, you go to a wood shop.
Yeah.
And you off the shelf shapes, sizes. Is
Yeah.
it a similar thing with snowboarding, or is it? Because there's a lot more to a snowboard
Yeah.
than there is a skateboard. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but there is.
so again, our partner that came in to help us like develop the snowboard side had worked for various snowboard bands in the past. He was a pro like me back in the day. We lived together,
Yeah.
traveled together. So he's like my best friend. He knew the ins and outs of the cores and the insides a lot more than me, having sold them for other brands. And he was like, I know exactly what we need, because we wanted to bring snowboards to the market that were essentially like price point, easy to use kind of snowboards for everyone, because all the brands out there were doing plain blackboards, boring graphics that were so overly engineered and high tech. We're just like, this is just
A
ridiculous.
lot of them
like,
are really shitty, boring graphics.
yeah, and they're so expensive. We were like, we want to get people into snowboarding, not put them off by price and
Yeah,
technology.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's what I said
like,
to you, wasn't it, ages ago? Like, I'd love to snowboard, but then when I serve someone over winter, like they get the snowboard, they get the boots, they get the bindings, they get the gloves. It's like $2,500. They're dropping on it, and I'm like, I don't care that much to do it. But I said to
And that's
Fraser
the
earlier, I
thing.
feel like something like I could get really attached to it because I skateboard as well, and
you would love it. You would lose
especially
your
the
mind.
snow skates as well.
Yeah.
I think I'd really enjoy it.
You really would, and that's kind of our mission basically. I met so many skateboards along the way. It's just like, fuck snowboarding, it's for like rich kids and this and that. I mean, it's not. It's just a bit trickier to get into, but we want to make that easier for everyone to get into it basically. So that was Neil there, just ticking off the thing, who does all the graphics. He's just unbelievable. So more often like that, we kind of say to him like, oh, we're kind of thinking this, or we want to bring out something like this, and he'll just do it like in no time, and then he'll just pull a lot of stuff out of nowhere. I'm like, we'll run with it. So these two boards behind me, it's called the Explorer board, and it's basically like an intermediate beginner all mountain snowboard you can use on everything in any condition. We call it the ultimate snowboard machine because it's literally the one board to do it all, and it's a lot cheaper than everyone else out there that offers a similar product. So obviously with the name Explorer, we wanted to go with the car theme, and then the first one that we did was the Beamer one, which did really, really well. That was the first snowboard we brought to market, which everyone was like, yeah.
I actually bought a skateboard that had the
Is that the calf one?
calf one,
Yeah.
that had the same colourway.
Yeah,
And
nice that.
when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'd get that if I was getting a snowboard.
Yeah, cool, good. Let me know.
So you were saying you'd went
Free, I love it.
you'd went round to loads
Oh,
of
yeah, so
factories
all
to
while
find
this is
someone
going
that could
on,
make that
yeah.
happen.
Yeah, so while we're building it as a snowboard brand on this, we're still trying to get these working. So, and now we found the right place, and we've got them to back where they need to be, and these are actually made in Scotland, 100%,
okay.
which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it's basically like 7-ply laminated like flat.
Yeah.
And then we had to get the foam done in China, but it's basically engineered foam, so it creates the concave feel because the board is flat.
Yeah.
So you can't, you need that concave, so it has to come from the foam. And then the base with the grooves, it can't be like a smooth base like a snowboard because it would just slip out. It has the grooves got in it, so when you drop it on the snow, it stays in a straight line. So then you can push and just stand on it and go. You don't need to worry about controlling it. You just go in a straight line.
I was
do
going to
tricks
ask,
or
like,
whatever.
what's I mean, the obvious answer is snow. I thought Toby's going to be like, snow, obviously. But what's the main differences in functionality between snowboarding and skateboarding? Because a lot of skateboarders are like,
need
I could snowboard really easy. But it's also not, because you got that 360 kind of pivotal,
Yeah, it's
like translating between the two.
when you're strapped to a snowboard, you just control it differently. You have to be moving a bit more for it to turn right because of the side cuts. That's how they turn when the side cut bites in and it goes. So you need to be moving like at least a couple miles an hour to initiate a turn, or you understand how it flexes and you can foot steer and stuff like that. So the entry level boards are made a lot softer, so it's easier to turn. But you really just have to understand that edge control. And that takes like a little bit of instruction just to get round. But most good skateboarders could figure that out in a few hours, if not a day, or not with an instructor or someone who knows how to do it. And then they'll just click and they'll be able to accelerate and progress faster than anyone else who doesn't skate. It's just getting over that first bit. And even when I was a kid and I learned to snowboard, I was like, I fucking hate this. I was like, it's so difficult. But I learned on an alpine board with ski boots. I mean, it couldn't be any more wrong. It was stiff as a board. No one was teaching me. I spent the day on my ass. I was like, this is awful.
Yeah.
And then when I learned indoors with an instructor, you break through that bit and you're like, oh my God, I can do whatever I want. I'm strapped to this thing. If I want to jump down a handrail, I just do it. It's
What's it like getting on a handrail with a board? Because there's no
terrifying.
That's just like got to be the slippiest thing, right?
Yeah.
And if you're 50-50 in a rail and you got no trucks, like.
Yeah, but well, I mean, yes, obviously you have the wheels that help you lock in, but you just so you obviously approach on the side and you just lock in the same way. You would like rest up onto it, and then it's just balance. Like you can slip off obviously like this way, but you just get used to it.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad. Board side's obviously kind of the same. It's much faster, so you have to lean forward a lot. And that's when I discovered, well, not say when I discovered rails for a skateboard, because they obviously were discovered before my time. But when I first did a board slide with the rails on the skateboard, I was like, oh my God, I'm flat on the rail. I'm not board sliding on the concave part. You know, I'm like, this is like how it is on a snowboard, where you're much more supported forwards and backwards versus on a skateboard. You know, you're board sliding that way, but you're also going against the shape of the skate deck. And that's why I'm like just telling all my mates who snowboard, get those things on there, because you can just stand there. And as you've seen, I just love board slides. My Instagram is just me board sliding everywhere.
Same.
And
maybe you'd be really good at snowboarding as well then.
I don't know.
You would. Once you just get over that.
I like the idea of these, and I'm
I like
I'm
the
gonna
idea.
get you boys on a session on these. Like we'll figure something out. But
Me and Fraser were talking
I
earlier. It would
to
make.
have a go.
I thought it'd be an amazing piece of content if we got these two and took them both for their first time, like
Let's do that,
snowboarding,
like
slash
snowboarding or snow
sledding.
skating.
yeah, so we can do these sessions at Chill Factor. They have like a little lesson slope, and they occasionally put some little rails and features out, and the guy just lets me go on with this. So we can time it and get you guys up. It'll be like a Tuesday evening.
Like we'll go to them and we'll make content of it for like brain drain extra.
Yeah, I would. I like the idea of those.
Can I have a look at that?
Yeah.
Is this the
And
one?
this is for you. I made this for you. It's one of one.
Is this for me?
It's a present. It's for both of you. It's like whoever gets hold of it first when it snows, it's for you.
Amazing.
Look how good
at
that is. I'll happily share it with you if you're keen to share as well.
Yeah.
It's coming home with me tonight. They just look. They look
It
so.
looks
They
fun.
look really
It
good.
looks really fun.
And that graphic
and
is.
the fact that you don't have to strap yourself in. You can just
Yeah.
throw this down and go.
Yeah.
And this sounds really stupid. Again, I was saying this to Fraser. I am no good at moving and flipping my board, but I can flip everything if I'm just stood fucking around with a board with no trucks on it.
Yeah.
Feels really good. And every time I see videos of these, I'm like, I wonder if the same thing will apply, because everyone can flip their board with no trucks on it.
Yeah.
If I could get
No,
that,
I find it quite difficult to flip those, but then I was never really good at flip tricks anyway.
that's how I feel. But
But I
everything else,
can
I'm
do,
a
and I
pro-
have done. But it's more like the best things those for me is just like obviously shove-its are super easy because it just slips around and
So-
you
Yeah.
revert it. But it's rails are the funnest thing.
Yeah, I can imagine it.
Little
like,
ride on
just-
boxes and rails.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, it's so fun.
Do you not get like snow slipping off this grip? Because this doesn't seem very grippy at the minute, but it's
But that's that's the beauty of that specific type of foam. It's grippier the more it gets wet.
Yeah.
right. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And just like any kind of like, I say like waterproof skate shoe, but you know, I mean,
It is
most of the
heavy,
guys just
Fraser.
do it in skate shoes and it's fine.
Yeah, we need to do that. We'll definitely look at
They are
doing
he-
something because I want to have a go on it.
They are heavy. You were saying earlier, like I bet they're heavy. It is. It's almost the same weight as a complete skateboard.
Yeah.
Maybe if not a bit heavier.
Yeah, but I mean, you can see the thickness.
Like
and
that
all
behind
foam,
you. That's
you know.
amazing. Thank you for that. It's actually really
Yeah,
sick.
nice one. Cheers,
But
Chris.
yeah, so you know, and then obviously since then we've been developing them and taking them all around the place. Like, oh, is that all that was rested up? Wow,
Yeah,
that
it's
could have
pretty
fallen on me
precarious.
at any point. Is that
It
your
could have fallen on
master
you.
plan? But just seeing like
Knocking
people
him out
who
and
don't
rubbing
come from
everything.
skateboarding or snowboarding and like running up little hills like with these and just with excitement, I'm like, okay, this is that spark that I want to use to take to get more skateboarders into snowboarding and everyone into it. And
Okay, can we make sure that we do this?
I'd
go
love
and meet
to do it.
Chris.
Yeah.
We'll get some of the others, the green ones we have as well. We'll get
the little rippers, the kids ones.
So
they're a bit too bendy for like full adults.
Are they?
To be honest, you're best just staying on them. But I have some more of those that I'll bring to the session.
We need to do that. I'm very interested to see how fun or not it is.
But it's cool. We have a guy who's from Austria. He's a pro snowboarder, but he's super good on these. And like we gave him a pro model one, and like
sick.
He's like how
There was a video part out recently. I forgot who it was. But his whole part was a snow skate part, and he's like doing flip out on rails and stuff.
Yeah, the Canadians who
looks
snow
insane.
on the ground like 9 months of the year, they have a full scene for it over there, and like they take it like really seriously.
Are you selling shred sleds into Canada?
No. They've got that locked down over there. We just
Are you shipping like Europe and international as well, or is it just Europe? Basically?
We have shipped international, but predominantly everything goes into Europe.
There's a lot of 4-on-1 vibes.
Yes, there is.
Like, tell us obviously the link up with 4-on video.
Well, when I first started making the edits, I was like, nobody's going to really want to watch snow skating stuff on Instagram. I don't know why I thought that, 'cause they kind of do, but I was like, I just want to theme it somehow, and I hadn't watched any 4-on-1s for ages, and I just happened to watch one at the time. I was like, I might just start editing everything like a 4-on-1 segment.
To that song as well.
I only do that every now and then, that intro one, but just like even like.
How's it go?
It's hard to find that song, It's not on
We do
Spotify
it.
or anything like that.
It is. No, it's not on Spotify.
But it is on YouTube.
But we do it every time we watch a clip in slow mo, don't we? Like me and Toby will like show someone a clip in slow mo, and simultaneously we'll go. It's just fucking good, isn't it?
That's it. So I just themed every edit. So if it was like if we were going somewhere, I'd be like, industry section and going to a trade show, or it was like a main event, and I just to make the editing process more fun for me, and people really liked it, and then we did some hats with that, and everyone's like, oh my god, sick 4-on-1, and then of course Martin's like, Steve Douglas is going to come for you. I'm like,
he'd probably be into it.
Yeah, if anything, we're just showing how much we loved it and how 4-on-1
and how much it influenced you as
exactly.
well. Like it's a little nod to 4-on-1.
I said to Fraser earlier, even though he's obviously bought us loads of Adidas stuff, I was like, oh, I hope he brings me a Sleds hoodie, because I just seen him in like you commercials, and I was like, it's fucking sick.
Yeah, we just started to go more into apparel and stuff now, but again, it's grown really quickly from when it was just supposed to be that to now it's full snowboard company or brand.
And you've got
a full brand now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
and you've got a team and stuff to go with it, or you just hooking people?
Got like a couple of like we're just hooking people up, a couple of riders. Like it's hard because everything funds itself. Like, so everybody works on it outside of their full-time gigs. So
it costs a lot of.
Yeah, so we're just about to make a second mold at the factory because we're getting in like loads more orders as we get closer to winter, so we can speed them up a bit. But I'll check with them. But
can you do an egg-shaped one, like more football, or would it not be? Would it not perform the same if you started doing shapes?
The only thing is, you could, but the base, these are already cut to that shape. The bases. So, and they're already pre-cut and ordered in China, and then they get shipped here and laminated on. So to do a whole new shape, we'd have to get whole new sheets cut, and then
could be a market there. Could be a market there. You know, like how Fozzie's done all the eggs. You could do like the chili eggs, and it could just be all.
I think for how niche they are, I just think it's not necessary.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
You know, when you play on them, you're not going to go. Snow skating's alright, but I wish it was egg shaped. Then it'd be more for me.
I think I would.
So what I'm thinking is, we do a little bit of content of us going and have a little play around on these things, and then we'll do.
And then we fake it. Chris comes out of his team with the pro brain drain boards, and we're like.
And we just have the brain drain logo down the middle.
Yeah.
In the full
just white background and then the whole thing there. That would pop perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that.
Cool.
Where can people find out more about Shred Sleds?
Obviously the website shredsleds.com or the Instagram
shred-sleds.com.
Yep.
Good name as well.
Sleds.
It's a really good name.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We'll put the link in the description.
It came from like when we were snowboarding when we were younger. We used to just call our snowboards shred sleds. We're like, grab the old shred sled and let's get going.
Yeah.
And it just came from that basically. We're like, well, that's kind of what these are.
And you're making skateboards?
No. I had them make some for me because I got used to that shape from snow skating.
Do you think you will? You think you might make a limited?
We talked about it, but I was like, there's too many. It goes back to that thing of too many skate brands, right? Like,
we can print them here if you need boards
Okay,
printed.
thanks.
We've got all that stuff.
But it's that shape as well. The shape
that
looks
shape
amazing.
is sick. Like obviously that shape's developed for snow skating specifically. Like, so it's like straight down the edges with a huge nose and tail.
Yeah,
That's what I like
And
about
it
it.
comes drilled with a much smaller wheelbase, but you know we can obviously extend that. But
what's the wheelbase on that?
14, I think.
Yeah.
If it was a 13.38.
No, I mean, that
The
shape-
first time I skated it with the snow skate wheelbase on, which was, I think it was under 13.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it, and I went down the local park near me, and I went to rock faking. On the way back in, I like my tail was scraping, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And then I couldn't ollie, and I was like, "Oh yeah," like, but it didn't account.
That's a
to me,
long
so-
tail on that, isn't it?
Mhm.
But I love it. I've wanted a skateboard with a long tail for forever, and now
Yeah.
when I go skiing, it's basically doing board slides or going around Greystone as fast as I can to get the heart rate pumping, and then that's it. I just like to
Cruise.
cruise,
Yeah.
and just do board slides. So it's perfect for that. But no one was making anything of that size. Like they just seem to be getting wider and rounder, as you say, eggy. But no one was extending the tail. When I was younger, a kid had a Black Label Valley board, the one with just the lightning bolt down it. I remember it having a massive tail on it. I was like,
I like a massive
yes. And just never found it. So
See, I'm a fan of shorter tails, but I think that stems back to like years and years ago, just riding boards until there was nothing left of
yeah.
them. So you'd get accustomed to having a shorter tail.
I think that's why I don't want, because I was the same, like keeping boards going for 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And then the one, I was like the biggest Chad Muska fan growing up, and then when I finally got the large red, the smallest tail on it, and of course I had the Circa CM901 shoes, which were the size of just the skateboard itself. I was like, it's not computing, like my foot won't stay on the tail, my shoes too big. And I was like, this is all
Is
wrong.
Muska your favourite skater?
Oh yeah, hands
Why?
down.
Give us the rundown. I mean, I'm not doubting that at all.
But
I think Muska's the best.
just
but,
it's
like,
just
It's kind of
everything.
obvious, isn't
he's
it?
just
It's
he's larger than life. Isn't
larger
he?
than life, just looked super cool.
Yeah.
Did you meet him when he
coolest-
was in Manchester
Yes,
with
I
like
did,
Lizard
yeah.
King and everyone?
Yeah.
I
I took 2 boards in and he signed them. And
Did you have the
yeah.
original red?
No, I got the
board?
reissue from that other brand that was
Prime.
That,
Was it
yes,
Prime?
Prime, yeah. But I have again, I'll send you the photo. But my mum took me out of school for a day when I was 15, and there was a Circa demo at Bay,
Yeah.
or it was PlayStation. And so if you watch Transworld Video Radio on the demo scene, there's this quick clip. So Muska runs around the crowd with the microphone. If you freeze frame it, he's there with the microphone in front of me, and I've got like Circa t-shirt on, signed by everyone, and like.
Was he asking you to say something?
Yeah, he's like, what have you got to say, man? I went, your shoes are the best.
Fucking sick.
Oh, the Muska. It's fucking
Yeah, I had a
legend.
lot of pairs of those CM901s and 801s.
What do you think about his new reissue shoe on S?
Yeah, I don't
Are
like
you allowed
it,
to talk
but,
about other shoe brands?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not his
I mean,
personal
I can.
preference,
It's not the
right?
BBC, is it?
Yeah, it's not for me now. All that stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
think if that Circa one came out, I'd have to go for
Yeah.
it because
Yeah.
that was the one. You know, when Circa came out, that was like something special. And
You're on about the Muska shoes that I've got, aren't you? The black
know.
and red, and they also did a
the
grey
S
one.
ones.
They've just redone the new colours come out this week.
No, I got one about
Yeah,
a
the
year
one,
ago.
the
didn't
one
I?
that never came out, like the blue and
Yeah.
black or something. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not into that stuff now. But the first time around, I mean, I was like there. But when Muska brings out the boards and things, I'll like buy into bits every now and then. But back then, I had everything, and of course, skating around Milton Keynes, I had my trousers rolled up 3/4. I had a Ghetto Child vest and like hat on slightly crooked,
Boombox?
and no boombox. They were hard to get, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was full blown.
Big up Chad Muska.
Yeah,
That's
big up
just-
Shout out
Chad.
Chad
But he was
Big
a
up
nice
Chad.
guy, and like
Yeah.
for my
seems like the
mum to
nicest
like
dude.
see into skateboarding and that be the person that we're looking up to. She was like, all right, that's a pretty cool role model.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was
Yeah,
into
good
it.
role model, Chad. Right.
So on that note, I feel like adequately satisfied.
Do you?
Yes, do
Good.
you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody should go and check out Shred Sleds. Thank you to Chris Chatt for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Jim, for
Thanks for
bringing
having
that
me.
board as well.
We didn't talk about water infusion. Just what's your top tip for the infusing water before we say goodbye?
One whole lemon, like I forget what those things called that you squeeze it on, like a
Juicer.
juicer. Yeah, but
Yeah,
but a juicer's like a big machine that you drop them in, and it. But like the little
the little hand
yeah,
lemon
so
ones.
do a whole lemon, whole lime, then slices of lemon and lime, and then some cucumber, and it's delicious.
Just makes you feel
I just
good.
don't like the taste of the tap water in Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not as good as Milton Keynes. That's the only thing it's got going for it. Nice.
Big up Milton Keynes.
Big up MK.
Yeah, for sure. Big up Milton Keynes.
Well, on that note,
That didn't sound honest.
on that note, let's get rounding up. Thank you very
Thanks,
much, Chris
Chris.
Chatt. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Right, go buy a shred sled.